Welcome everybody to the final week of the Summer Showdown qualifiers. My name is Jaws, and I got Hex along with me to bring the action today. We've got some good matches coming up, Hex. We've got Florida Mayhem versus the Houston Outlaws, and then we have the Dallas Fuel facing up against the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, and with the Summer Showdown, I mean, every match matters. We only have a few qualifiers before we get into the tournament formats, as it were. Just to remind everybody what's on the line, cool cash money, of course, but also you get wins. If you win the Summer Showdown, you get 3 extra, second place 2, third place gets 1 extra win. And for teams that have been floundering, you know, your Houstons, those extra wins are going to mean a lot. Florida, if they can win a tournament, they get rightfully where they need to be in the seedings after kind of a mediocre start to the season. So a lot always on the line with this tournament format. You loved our first tournament, now we got a second one, and hopefully we continue doing these because I think the format makes it really interesting. But there's some times where not every map has mattered. You know, in the past I've had to lie to you and say every map matters, but with the limited amount of matches and maps played, every map is going to matter. You see both these teams sitting at 1-1, which theoretically means either of these teams could get the 4th spot, which means you have a first round bye, and you also want to be in that 5 or 6 territory so that you're able to pick your opponent for the tournament.
Yeah, the only small difference there is Houston are a -1 with map differential, and like you said, Hex, every map does end up mattering. It's been really interesting to see the Florida Mayhem kind of turn around this completely revamped roster. It's just coming to light over the last couple of weeks, and we can see how good people like Yaki, people like BQB can be. Gangnam Jim as well, definitely a Rookie of the Year favorite of mine. It's going to be, and it has been, sorry, an exciting start for the season if you're a Mayhem fan. Brand new colors as well, which look ultra cool. By the way, if you didn't know, no hero pools today. So that does mean we get to see basically whatever the teams can kind of come up with. Maybe a little bit of Echo. I did like seeing Dante on his. Him against Yaki, though, it has been an extremely close set of events.
Yeah, I mean, Yaki and Dante, I consider them Tracer mains, and I really, always hope to see the logo play on the screen. I'm just a huge Tracer fan. But they both have really good echoes as well. I think Yaki definitely does more damage and dies less. So I think if they do choose to play the Echo, then Florida would have the advantage in this matchup between Yaki and Dante. And, I just really want to see Tracer, and I think with no hero pool, some teams might have experimented with some Echo. We've got some sort of meta scrim reports that Echo was in the mix, but I think having played a couple weeks on Tracer and Ashe, some teams might default to that. Of course, maps will play into that a whole lot, but Yaki and Dante, like, those are the carries for this squad, and I mean, Houston, like the last 2 times we've watched them, if you kill Dante, then the rest of the team falls apart. But do you think we're going to see some Echo? Let's take a look at the stat comparison between these two, Jack.
Yeah, this, more often than not, fairly close. Does seem like Dante finishes off a few more people more often than not. And I think that's one of the funniest things about Echo, to be fair. She does almost everything. The beam does a whole bunch of damage. And if people are kind of tickling people in the back line with the dynamite, or just with a Tracer in the back line as well, and then the Echo can just fly on in, beam them down with that ridiculous burst damage, and then fly away. It's a very annoying character to deal with some of the time, especially when you have Brig on your team as well to armor pack you. Brig's pretty good, funnily enough. Let's have a look what the Florida Mayhem, and more specifically Yaki, has to say up against their matchup today.
상대가 어떤 딜러가 나올지 모르겠지만 이제 휴스턴에서 가장 위협이 되는 딜러는 단테 선수라고 생각하고, 이제 링저 선수가 나온다면 저희 BQB 선수가 이제 히트 스캔이 폼이 많이 올라서 견제는 확실하게 될 것 같고요. 단테 선수만 제가 좀 막을 수 있으면은 무난하게 이길 것 같습니다.
Well, there you have it. Shut down Dante, and they might just find themselves a W. Dante has really been putting the team on his back recently, Hex.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, Yaki has it right that BQB has really stepped up, and no matter who they face off against, he's really come to his own as a long-range hit scan. Let's take a look at the Florida starters here on your screen. No surprises across the board. BQB and Yaki are going to be that fatal DPS line up front. Fate and Gargoyle have both had, well, hell of a years, really. Gargoyle put his Roadhog on display last year, but is really coming to his own as the Sigma. And Chris and Gangnam Jin are going to be playing the support line. It's interesting with no hero pool now, because Brigitte was banned last couple of weeks. That maybe Chris goes back to the Brig. Florida was a team that was running it earlier in the year with limited success, but she's kind of been figured out in the meta as well. So that's going to be what I look for that team. But I mean, how do you deal with BQB and Yaki? Answer is you don't. You just hope to contain them, I guess.
Well, that's exactly what Blase and Dante are going to have to do. Like I mentioned, Dante's just been at a whole new level recently, especially on his Tracer. I would like to see the Tracer Ashe come out again and just see that matchup, because I think it's one of the more interesting ones. I do like seeing Echo flying around, but good high-level Tracer play is something to behold, and it always has been in the history of Overwatch.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Blase in would kind of indicate that maybe they're not going to be running the Ashe, because I think Linkser had one of his better performances of the year a couple weeks ago, and he was able to play the Ashe and able to play the Widow to a very high level. So it's going to be interesting what Houston actually runs out with. Hydration has really cemented himself as that main tank role too. We're going to find out answers to all of these questions as we go to our first map, which is Control. We're headed to Oasis.
Oh yes, we are. Oasis. You can run the Ashe, you can run the Tracer, you can run the Echo, you can basically run whatever you want depending on the stage, of course. City Center, definitely one of the more variable ones. I think you have to run Brig. Brig is such at a point now where I think you just kind of lose if you don't have the Brig, because you armor pack, or I know that a lot of Korean players call it cookie. You throw the cookie at somebody, or the DPS more specifically, and they gain the armor, obviously a little bit of health back if they're injured, and then they can outduel the enemy DPS if they also don't have the armor. The Tracer versus Kree duel, or the Tracer versus Ashe, the Tracer on Tracer. If your Tracer has armor, she ain't dying. And it does require the enemy team to also then kind of force themselves onto Brig to kind of contest with it. So I don't think we're ever not going to see Brig right now in the current iteration, unless they're running something aggressive like this. We've got a Baptiste. I can imagine Chris is going to be just speeding people out though, or something that you want to just kind of hunker down with. I think Brig is just way too valuable right now. There's in fact changes on the experimental mode currently where you don't get the armor from the cookie, from the little repair pack, which will be fairly interesting to see it actually go through, because armor is just such a terrifying thing to deal with, especially for someone like a Tracer X.
Yeah, when you see those Tracer duels too, like when Zen's in the mix, you always have to figure out, do they have the orb? Are they discorded? Things like that. It's kind of similar, but no Tracers on the field so far. We've got a Junkrat out of BQB. I see the rat in play.
Hydration almost instantly got killed by BQB. Junkrat on the flank. He's going to have to get dealt with. Well, someone's going to have to deal with him, and it's going to be Jegsay more often than not, but Hydration does have him going down to a stray bomb. Unfortunately, I think Outlaws getting a little bit of the taste of their own medicine. Immortality Field has been used as well. Bad situation now for the Outlaws as they try and set up on the point. They are going to be able to contest to make sure Florida don't get the first cap. Immortality Field used once again, but this time on the Florida side. It's just going to be halt combos and making sure Yaki can build up towards this blade. Mayhem end up finding the cap. Both windows have come out as well. Not sure how that rock didn't hit Yaki. I think it maybe caught on a pixel on the wall there, but it does mean now the tire is available. BQB setting out on the sidelines as Fate already goes down. They're going to look for a big trade. Unfortunately,
nice block.
Jegsay with the perfect block on the shield is going to be able to survive.
Houston's able to take this one back, and actually Florida didn't win this fight, and they're losing it. The only reason they got the capture point to begin with was a really nice halt to pull everyone off the point. And I'm just trying to get my bearings here now, because if you told me 2 weeks ago I was going to see the Junkrat Genji DPS duo out of Florida, I straight up would not have believed you. Blase gets in a little too deep there. He's got Nano ready, but he gets deleted by the Tracer Eraser and also hurts the Genji with that Brigida on the backline. It's no surprise that Chris is on the Brigida. Houston, I mean, Dante is almost nearing the duplication, and that's such a game-changing ultimate.
Ooh, I saw someone take the skies out. It looked like it was Blase. Oh my word. Mako from across the map hits the rock. That'll be Mayhem resetting. There's the blade, though. I mean, why not? Hey, you're not going to be able to get it off later on, that is for sure. I'm just trying to think how the Genji really interacts with the enemy team here, because you have so many things that can get away. You can use to get away from the blade, like Immortality Field. You have the rock. You have the halt as well. Plus, it hasn't got nano at his back too, so it feels like more of a cleanup ultimate more than anything. Florida, they need to be able to cap again. They've only got 19%. The Outlaws setting up themselves for success here with the Echo ult as well as that Bongo.
Well, this is the right switch here to go to McCree, because it helps deal with both of the other DPS. They get fluxed right around the corner, but a beautiful Immortality Field keeps everyone alive.
Yeah, but look how low everybody is after that. It didn't really matter at all. Again, like, these ultimates being used at the end of the fight. I mean, why not? There's the high noon on a couple of people. I don't know, the Dante really need to use his ultimate there, but hey, it looked swish, so why not? They're going to hold him near the spawn doors as well. 85% now on the board for the Outlaws. They got one ult to bear, maybe two, as that blade's coming online as well.
Yeah, it's completely one-sided. I think Florida's opening ethos was to just get control of the point and keep control of the Junkrat. And even though they were able to capture the first point, it never felt like they were in control. They never won the fight. Yaki's hiding low, try to touch this at last second. He gets there.
Mr. Yaki is playing James Bond. He's going to be able to get in and out rather easily. It was going fairly low. Had to retouch again, but Meko made sure he paid the price. The blade for Blase, dashed up into the air, tried to bait out the Immortality field, didn't end up working out. The rock straight to his face. And this is what I mean, kind of a blunt blade, but a zoning one at that, and actually forced out a couple of cooldowns. Managed to kill off Fate regardless. The rock will send BQB flying, and this should just be it. The Outlaws are going to control the point. They're going to be able to contain the Florida Mayhem for the time. First stage is going to be theirs, Hex, and maybe these blades are just there to force out cooldowns, man. Maybe that's it. They have to react with something. They have to react with a rock, a halt. An Immortality field is normally the best use of it, which then enables your Sigma player to then get a free flux off. So maybe that's what it's about. Because, well, no Nano Blade kind of blows.
I mean, the interesting thing is all the abilities you listed are abilities on newly released heroes, and the abilities have just gotten better and better over time, so forcing out abilities is almost like forcing out ultimates, so I can see that actually being the case, because Immortality Field's 20-something second cooldown, Accretion is up there too, and Halt, you know, they're all really important abilities to get out of the other team. They can rival ultimates in some situations. Florida is going to stay on the composition that they have right now, and Dante goes to the Tracer. A full dive comp here from the Houston Outlaws.
Hey, this is what I'm talking about right here. If only Brig was removed and we had a Lucio, it would be true, honest dive, Hex. They're going to be able to take the center high ground. Oh, well, Dante's dead. Okay, well, that was a mistake. Yaki's going to end his life rather fast. That's a one right click or a couple of shurikens from the left and then an instant dash. You can just insta-kill the Tracer. If you're not careful. Didn't have the armor pack as well, so that's why he went down. Point is still going to get contested here. Mayhem looking for the first cap once again. Yaki taking a little bit too much damage though, but it's going to be hard for the Outlaws to really get rounded upon here, apart from if you just do that and jump to the back line. Hydration instantly killed off by Yaki. No cap found just yet, but it's the slow whittling away of the health bars. Jaxay is so low. Finally finished off by Gargoyle. Blase does get a little bit of revenge on Yaki. So kind of an even fight now at this point. Dante is going to be able to kind of dip in and out to make sure they can't cap, and an assassination attempt on someone like BQB might be the play. Nano boost onto just the Genji on the side. A reset with the ultimate here from BQB, but gets taken out by Mecha regardless. That Nano, a little bit aggressive from Repel. I mean, it got space, I guess, but Blase now doesn't have a Nano Blade to deal with. Well, sorry, doesn't have the Nano to use with the Blade, and Florida Mayhem just should be able to skirt away from it.
Welcome to Oasis, where the fights never end. It is the control map that I think ends up going on the longest. I have no idea how close Houston was. On my screen, that was a full capture. It must have been 99 point something right there. And Florida has made the right adjustments here to deal with this dive. Diving into a McCree is not fun, especially a McCree of BQB's caliber. And it's kind of put every of these dive heroes on notice.
We're going to be a little bit scared of Dante. That movement was rather clean, by the way. Just dodge shield bash and dodge BQB as well. Not sure if the flashbang came out. There's a nice stick. Can they follow up with any damage? Yes, they can, but you've got to be able to secure the kill. Fate being kept alive for so long. Armor packs and just the right clicks. There's the blade from Yaki straight onto the back line. But BQB and Fate steal the kills. The flux up in the air is going to secure the fight for the Mayhem. The Outlaws had nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. They're going to be able to start. Oh, look at this body block. It's kind of gross. Trying to jump into the cars. You're eventually going to get there, but stagger does mean a whole bunch. That's an extra 10% on the board.
Yeah, very nice stagger there. Unfortunately, Florida had to use everything that they had. The Immortality Field, or excuse me, Amplification Matrix came down early, I think intended to try to heal Fate back up, and they were able to dance around that and get everything they need done. Also zoned out Fate dying because he did take that early stick. 70% and counting up, and Houston Outlaws have looked, well, not as good as the first map, but they're reaching the ultimate phase.
Oh my word, you see hydration change there? 1000 HP was 300 in a mere second. Doesn't matter though, because he jumps back in and kills Gargoyle. Early Immortality Field used by the Mayhem did result in Outlaws just taking over the fight. That's the one cooldown they need to really inch out. 1v1 with Dante and Yaki, but they end up backing off. We do have a Nano Blade for this next fight, maybe, if Blase can build this one up. But 83% on the board for the Mayhem, not too bad to start off City Center.
But Florida only needs one more fight, and they're going to have their DPS ultimates up. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can bait out the Immortality field with Yaki's Blade and try to get, like, you slice down the Immortality field and maybe get one, and then zone out with BQB.
Self-destruct, bait goes down. Immortality field went down as well to the bottom.
They can still fight
Hydration
this.
went a little bit too aggressive. A lot of CC for the Winston to kind of contend with. They can still fight this. Blase does have the blade. Nano is coming soon. Ooh, the dash straight into death almost. Yaki dashes straight into Jexay. He almost got hit by a car. But he will end up finishing him off. That should be a one fight now for the Mayhem, but Outlaws ping on a dive comp doesn't mean they can stall out for the point for a little bit longer. There's the Nano, there's the Blade, into the backline. One dash, one kill. BQB goes down, but the Immortality field is way too much for Blase to finish it off. But it might be enough for them to actually just regain control at this point now if they can find an additional pick. Dante's on the backline trying to find it, but can he actually secure the kill? They managed to secure Hydration inside his own bubble and run him over as the Outlaws now are getting forced off the point.
You kind of have to do that delicate dance of, are we staying on the points while are we still feeding into the point? It becomes a question of, is our lives worth this percentage? And Florida had won this fight a while ago, but I meant Oasis is a really tough map to clean up entirely.
What was that, Hex? How much percent extra was that? Probably like 40? 50?
Yeah.
I would say maybe. I have to look back at the votes to that one, but last fight now for the Mayhem. A lot of ults being used. Immortality field on top of them as well. They're going to be able to get around the side, or not quite. Oh, the post bomb! It killed two things, but it was only the Immortality field and the bongo. BQB stayed alive, regardless of him being stuck. A ball for Meko to get back onto the point in time, but Hydration already has gone down. OT is here, the window as well, and even Yaki with the blade dashing to the back line. It'll be one apiece in Oasis for the time being, as that stage was won by the Mayhem.
Yeah, tale of two maps right there. The Mayhem able to take that one up, and I think it's a lot of it just running out the McCree first. And even if McCree is not hitting all of the shots, it allows you to control 360 degrees of the dive, because Brig can be looking at the back. You saw a couple times BQB was just looking at the Brigitte being like, oh, you got the Tracer? Then I can go for the damage up front. I can deal with the Genji. And you kind of need at least two heroes to deal with all the dive that Houston was putting forward, because if the Tracer blinks in, you miss your flashbang, then that's it. But now you have a Brigitte there for the bash. You need that backup kind of stun. Also, I've been so impressed over the last couple of weeks, maybe months even, of the pro-level play of Sigma Accretions. I mean, we saw some highlights last night from Krong, just using Accretion in such interesting ways. I think it's one of the higher skill ceiling abilities in the game because of the wind-up and how it takes, and we've seen some great Accretion so far from both of these Sigmas.
I saw one on Reddit the other day of Leave getting insta-killed from spawn as Genji. An arrow hit him as well as the rock straight out of spawn and he died. That's no F4 member right there. Gargo ends up going down first up. Rather aggressive push here from the Outlaws. Same kind of comp for the Florida Mayhem here. They want to just kind of hunker down and then let hopefully pocket Yaki until he builds up a blade. But Houston Outlaws, especially with Dante on this Echo, it's kind of difficult to regain control, especially if Dante is able to pick off one so early.
It was a 3v4 in the corridor, but unfortunately they got split out. Chris got isolated from the rest of his team, so it was just Yaki and Gangnam Jin in the corner. So it essentially ended up being a 4v1 and then a 4v2. Houston able to clean that up with some early kills. Got a little bit scrappy there. You see all the healing that Gangnam Jin did. He's going to have the window up ready to go, and Yaki's leading this blade.
Jesus. That halt into the sticky bombs is so disgusting. There's the blade for Yaki. Manages to not find anybody, but a bit of damage. But it'll do for the time being. Can he get the dash reset? No, he cannot. It's kind of, it feels like a sad day for Genjis, I'm going to be real. It feels like most of these blades, the team is your team has already killed everybody before you can get the 6k. I'd call it kill stealing if I was Yaki.
Yeah, kill stealing only happens in free-for-all. They should just rename that mode kill steal.
Yes, you wait around the corner as a Kree, you see someone at 1 HP, you just go tap. It's my kill now after someone spent 10 minutes dueling him.
Yeah, the worst is like when Genji comes in and then he steals your kill, then dashes through you because he got the reset.
I'm not playing. I'm not good at Genji, so I can't play that mode. High noon to force people away. Riley's coming out as well. Look at that armor, by the way, on Gargo. It has about, I would say, how much that? It's about 2 million HP, I think. There's the flux up in the sky as everybody fell to the floor. However, the rock is going to make sure Meko can't get the damage off. Not too bad at all. You were talking about it before. Those accretion has just been so good recently. as the hero kind of develops, and the meta for the hero too is just ridiculous. There's another flux up in the sky for Dante this time around, sending everybody to the ground. Outlaws are going to be able to gain control of the point once again, as Dante is just destroying everybody in the back line. No one can stop this man.
Well, this is kind of the back and forth you expected. Houston was able to win the first fight. They captured first point, but Florida did more damage. They use ultimates on the way coming in, and they were able to recapture the point. Now the seesaw goes the other way, as the Houston Outlaws were using their ultimate abilities to come in, and now we're going to have another blade and a supercharger. That could be a nice combination to supplement the damage that you're losing without having a nano boost, but it does have a limited range.
And you don't get the damage reduction either, mind you. Yaki right-clicking through the window. Oh my word! Blase took 3 shurikens to the dome, and it instantly goes down. That is kind of gross. Now they don't even need the blade. A dash through the supercharger will end its life, and that will be a rather quick and clean team fight for the Mayhem. Only used the window and the supercharger, and now they have 50% in building. They've got High Noon to make sure Outlaws have to stick undercover, and I think that's going to be one of the best uses here. If you see Dante going aggressive with a shift, just popping the High Noon with the Immortality field could be such a deterrent that Dante might just get caught out completely for free.
Yeah, and it's one of the best uses of the High Noon, especially when you're going against double shields. What are you really going to get done unless someone puts themselves in position to die?
I love me some
Flux goes down.
It does go down, and so does BQB. There's the blade in the back. She threw 5 people, but can he secure the kill? The Flux is definitely going to help as everybody crashes back down to earth at about half HP. Jaxay is the first to fall. Even a window is getting opened up here to make sure that Yaki can build another blade. Gargoyle will just send a few spears through and ends Repel's life. This team fight needs to end fast for the Outlaws, as now the Mayhem are 90% in building, up to 100 as they almost take Oasis. Someone's going to have to touch. Not sure who. Blase has the blade. Maybe he gets there, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to be possible. 99%. Someone is there. Blase has to hit Q. Otherwise, it's just a bit of a wasted ultimate. He falls, and that will be Oasis, taken by Mayhem.
Florida just used their amplification matrix better. There were 2 windows in that room. It's definitely a room with a view at that point in time, and it was Gargoyle firing hyper spears through it, able to use the angles as well to bounce them around corners and get the kills. I mean, we talk so much about Yaki and BQB, and rightfully so, but you'd have to say the most consistent part of the team this year, going back to week 1, has been Gargoyle. We always said you could probably build a team around him, and with how important off-tank is, especially with how strong Sigma is, Gargoyle simply had the better Sigma overall, hit more accretions and more clutch accretions, hitting it during the flux and just hitting those when he needed to, and shut down the Genji on stage 1 of that map as well. Gargoyle, one of the players to watch if you really like high-level Sigma play.
Yeah, and Sigma, like I mentioned during one of those fights, like, because he's been out for this for so long at this point, or like at least it feels so long, people have just gotten so good to the point where it's almost impossible to stop your Sigma shutting down not only the Genji and, like you said, the from the enemy flux as well. It's just disgusting how good Gargoyle is in this on this pick. That was it though. 1-0 up for the Mayhem. It was close though. Outlaws could come back. We'll have to wait and see though. We're going to jump to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Map number 2 going up soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
I think our team is pretty confident going into this next match against Florida. We've been playing well, and there's a lot of comfort heroes for our players in this meta. I would say everyone feels pretty comfortable. It's also a good meta for Florida, so you never know, but I'd say we're pretty confident going into it. If we win, then I think that's really good because we go 2-1 for the placements to the Summer Showdown, and we get to choose our next opponent, which can hopefully set us up for more success.
Welcome back. This is the Houston Outlaws facing up against the Florida Mayhem. That was a 2-1 scoreline at the end of Control, Hex. Rather close, if I do say so myself. We do have a couple of substitutions coming in as well for the Outlaws. We got Raucous coming in as well as Linksa.
Yeah, so you would assume that they're going to try to play some Ashe or some Widow, as our next map is going to be Volskaya Industries. It's a really good map for, well, I mean, Ashe in particular we've seen lately, so an Ashe Tracer combination would make a lot of sense. Maybe switching to a Genji or McCree at the end when you really need to clean up all those kills. If you can get a McCree at that mid-range on offense towards the last point, you can just clean up everything that's coming out, which is really nice. And of course, Genji's always really good on these style of maps trying to clean up points, but definitely probably going to be switching away from the Genji, at least early on. But Linksa, you know, he does have a decent blade in his back pocket if they need it.
Yeah, Volskaya, though, just screams hit scam, right? I think that's one of the reasons why they're coming in. Dante Linksa on Tracer Ashe, potentially. Armor pack the Tracer, make sure she wins those duels, and then easy as that. Remember at the start of the series, we did see how BQB and Yaki really want to take control of the game, and that was shutting down Dante. Dante did bring out the Echo a little bit, but little to no effect. I mean, he was... in the fights that we saw him in, he was definitely doing the damage. It was just... it was so hard to actually find the picks, especially through the Immortality Field and obviously the double shield. And BQB obviously poses a massive threat too on the McCree, but it wasn't the kind of standout 1v1 kind of thing that I think I was hoping for in the Tracer versus Tracer and the Ashe versus Ashe. So I think this is more of a map to see that on. Echo, I think, can be effective here, but the long-range hit scan just prevails so much more, especially something like an Ashe. And then with the double tanks anyway, it's pretty tough to not get halted and then rocked, and we know how good Gargoyle is at hitting the rocks. Like, even if you're not going to get halted, you're going to get rocked anyway, regardless, though.
Yeah. I'm glad that we're just stopped calling it accretion. You always set the standard of, like, that's what it actually is called, and then you use the small nomenclature after. That's like one of my casting rules after. But yeah, getting rocked in the face as a Genji doesn't feel real good. Actually, my initials are Rock, so it's like you're talking right to me. All right, no surprise here on the defense. Ashe and Tracer coming out, double shields, and then, yeah, Brig and the BAP. So that is no surprise. BQB likely not staying on the Widow. It could just be for an early grapple shot to get up to the top. Be interesting to see if Yaki stays on this Genji. Had some success with it. And it can be good dueling a Tracer. You know, you hit a Shuriken, then you get in there with the dash melee combo and get a reset, hopefully. So, yeah, I really just want to see what Florida's going to run. Hopefully they don't run the Junkrat. Seemed like kind of a throw pick to me on the stage 1 of Oasis, but we shall see. BQB could stay on this and just outrange Linksa. Going to.
Yep.
All right.
Look where they are sitting, though. I mean, they know BQB's obviously on the Widow now, so they just need to sit together. Woo, that's a big dynamite. That's rather tasty. Look at that ult charge for Linksa, by the way. Already up to 30%. Gangnam Jim the same, though. You do trade your burn damage through the dynamite with the enemy support ult charge, mind you. Yaki's going to find himself... okay. That was a nice headshot. At least Dante managed to clean that one up, but spawn advantage in the favor of the Mayhem. Yaki's in the back line as well, just doing so much damage. Like, he's getting completely ignored, but kind of has to be ignored at this point as well, because the tanks are in trouble, getting run over by not the Orisa, but the Sigma 2. That was gross. That was extremely fast. Mayhem are going to be able to get the first cap just like that.
When we got our kind of scouting report of what the meta and the scrims were, I believe the phrase was like, and there's also this nightmare comp where it's double shields, Brig, BAP, Genji, and they just press W. And it's exactly what we just saw from Florida. They didn't try to rotate around and take the opposing high ground and try to set up their Widow or anything. They just went in and pressed W, and with the dash and the close range damage Genji can get done, it's super successful.
Oh man, I love playing Widowmaker on this map on seconds. I hate it on defense, but I love it on offense because you're less likely to get flanked. Just setting up on the high ground is so nice, but against double shield's kind of annoying. There's the window coming out on the sides. BQB trying to get a nice little angle. Yaki as well, but he spotted Dante in the back. Wants to go for the one dash, but he doesn't manage to click it, unfortunately. And that Bob is haphazardly placed, actually, in the Mega Pack room for Linksa. One of the better tools that you have, I think, of deterring this play from Yaki, because he doesn't have the nano. The Bob can just be sent out, and then you can almost instantly deal with the blade because he has to deflect, and then you can kind of rotate around from there.
That Bob reminds me like me at a party in high school, just hanging out alone in the corner.
Oh, all right, okay, we didn't need to go that like sad. Come on, man. Whoa. Oh, okay, Linksa hit the headshot. It's okay. He's now left clicking. Okay, that was very close. That would almost been a clip, and the clip would have been you talking about being sad in high school, and then it would have been a 6 shot. So we definitely would have had to mute the audio on that one.
Anything for a joke.
Anything.
No, but I mean, like, honestly, the Bob just went in and he just, like, rocked the corner. Maybe it's to control the pack, and I guess maybe he's still at an angle on the point to deter the Blade. That said, Blade is still up, and Florida has done a good job of, like, kind of retreating here so that they can go in with 6. You still do want to maybe wait for rally here, and Chris is extremely outpacing Raucus in the rally, and that is an enormous advantage if you can just do the press W, let BQB play back, and push the point.
That's a lot of damage. Yeah, Fate's going to instantly go down.
Yeah.
Post bomb and a clean clip to the head. He almost one clip to BQB there. Missed a 32 clip. It's not going to see the light of day today. Outlaws making a mean work on the defense here.
So they really needed to get that rally up first, but the problem is to try to get that rally up, they needed to be aggressive and push forward so you can get the healing done unless you're just hitting whip shots all the time. Maybe get some other healing going on. But Chris, who was about 35% ahead of Raucus in the rally, is not going to have that advantage now, and that, I think, was the big condition that they had. BQB has switched off of the Widow, going to go to Ashe for a little more utility.
I mean, you might as well, like, Widow, yes, being effective here, but like you said, the utility is kind of crazy, plus Bob can do so much work. Speaking of Bobs, Linksa's got another one. What they do with it, really. If they put it in the Mega Pack room again, I'll be sorely disappointed. Oh, it actually got booped onto... It actually got booped into a better position, but BQB was able to take out not only Raucus, but the Bob as well. There's Yaki. Easy headshot on Linksa. Immortality field down. So is Repel. A dash to the skies, and that will be the Florida Mayhem making their mark on the second point. Dante's going to be there to touch, but it is him versus 6 people with a whole lot of armor to deal with as well. Ball's going to come through too. It's only a matter of time now before the Mayhem do manage to cap. Even Gargo is sitting on the flux here as well.
Well, the rally comes out, though, and it's going to give the Tracer a lot of extra damage, and now the Winston comes in, so it's not been clean.
Oh, that didn't actually hit anybody, I don't think. Gargo whiffs the flux. They do manage to find the kill onto Fate. That's all they needed. On the defense, you only need one pick to kind of turn the tides of war, and that's exactly what they've done. Fate goes down, and now Gargo are in a whole heap of trouble. His shield is going to get melted through. In fact, getting bullied and just pushed away by not only Meko there, but Raucus using the shift. They managed to secure 1 tick and a bit. 2 minutes remaining as well in their time bank. They've still got more in the bank as well. They're using the Sombra now to maybe build up for this one big EMP and then Blade combo.
Yeah, the Sombra was a pick that they made halfway through that fight when BQB died early, but with the advantage that they had in taking down Raucus before he got Rally up, they needed that fight to be clean. Once Raucus comes back in with Rally, it becomes a much more difficult fight to close out.
Yeah, BQB getting armor as well is going to make sure he's immortal. There's the Halt, there's the Pulse. It ends up taking out the Immortality field. Shouldn't matter too much, but that definitely will. Yaki slices Dante. Another kill onto Linksa as well. Yaki has just taken over the game without a Blade. He doesn't even need it. And he has Blade now, yeah? Well, 4% away, but he's might as well have had it. There you go, the one dash, he knew he had it. Immortality field goes out. No one stands a chance now. Hydration falls. Meko takes a nice icy bath off the map. 2 ticks now on the board for the Mayhem. Dante eventually falls too. Yaki is just ridiculous! Raucus is going to fall. This should be it, surely. If I lose now and I'm Yaki, I am reporting every single member of my team. They eventually cap the point. 1 minute and 10 seconds to spare as well. My word. Yaki.
What I like about Yaki, and it wasn't necessarily that evident in the last fight, but his prior Blade, when he's going after the Baptiste, it just seems so fluid that he takes one swipe at the BAP, Immortality field comes down, he takes a swipe at that, and then hits the BAP again. And never really a wasted movement, even when he's trying to kill objects in the world, like the Immortality field. So really nice control there, and it helps to be lucky when you're also good, because the kill on a Tracer was just a blind right click across the map, and he ends up getting the headshot. Florida, which was totally fine. So Florida Mayhem are able to close out the map with a $110 in their time bank. Houston Outlaws now will have to come back on the offense. And, you know, what's nice for Florida is that they won that without BQB really going nuts. And you kind of expect the Widow and the Ashe to be kind of carry potential on this map.
Sure.
But it was Yaki showing up on the Genji.
I love how that's your tip, by the way. If you want to be a pro player, just be good and lucky.
Yeah,
there you go.
just get
and
lucky,
Yaki.
forehead.
Just get lucky, forehead, exactly.
I watch a lot of Hearthstone Battlegrounds, so I hear the word lucky and unlucky all day, every day, every sentence.
So lucky you drew that card, bro. No, trust me, I do the same. I stopped Hearthstone a long time ago when I couldn't play Jade Golem, and apparently that was a very hated deck. I talked to Kayla about that, and we were talking about Hearthstone one day. I think we were in Korea for World Cup, maybe? I can't remember. Regardless, that point of the story doesn't matter, but I was like, oh yeah, I run this Jade Golem deck, and the look she gave me was just pure disgust, and I realized I had done something wrong, unfortunately.
I got to my first gold with Face Hunter, so I am also much hated.
Oh, I hated Face Hunter. Oh, okay, back to the present, and back to Overwatch, not Hearthstone. BKB is going to be on the Widow once again. Yaki, I mean, stay on the Genji, man. You're just on fire. You might as well. I want to see how Dante is going to interact with BQB here. Well, he doesn't actually need to at all, because Repel takes him out. Good start for the Outlaws. Then they now just make their way onto the point. The slow grinding of health bars. This is what these comps are about. You see the pressing W? How is no one dead? They're basically kissing each other on the lips. They're that close, Hex. Look at this. Like, they're in this small little house. Dante's doing whatever he chooses. The Pulse Bomb is available to him as well. He can just throw it out whenever he needs, although he doesn't actually need to. Rorks with a nice shift onto Gargoyle, straight into the water, and that will be it. Even Chris earned himself a rally in that engagement too. End up letting that go as well.
Both support ultimates came down, and Chris is going to really want that one back because that was just over. Houston won that by pure positioning, that they didn't always have to engage. They could use the corner and come around, whereas Florida just got put in a corner a la Dirty Dancing. Like, that was brutal, and now Houston can roll into this. This map type is very much about getting that momentum off first, coming into second, and with Rally being up, and Flux, and Pulse Bomb, and then Bob, I mean, Gargoyle and Yaki are going to have enormous ultimates to counter off this onslaught.
There's the Pulse. I believe Fate was golden there, so he took a little bit less damage. He is on fire, though. He's just melting. Dante, unable to be dealt with because he has the armor in the back line. There's the Flux from Meko, sending everybody back down to the ground. He gets Flux himself, but the Immortality Field was there. There's Yaki, 2 kills instantly. But the Bob is going to be able to clean him up. It might be enough indeed because Florida Mayhem still have the spawn advantage, but Lynx's Bob takes out a third person. How is this happening? Bob is just doing a whole bunch of damage, and Outlaws just steamroll. That looks so good. Yaki killed 2 people instantly, but the Bob was what dealt with the rest. I said it before, Hex. One of the best things to deal with the Genji, especially in a comp like that, is send out the Bob when the blade's coming through. Because, yeah, he might have a little bit of armor, but he hasn't got the damage resistance from the blade, and he has to play a little bit more safe. Yaki went for the YOLO 6k blade, but only found 2, and the Bob cleaned up the rest.
Yeah, and the problem is he only found those 2 right when the melee was still occurring, right? If you can just wait a second and come out at maybe 60 to 90% and then get those 2, it gives your chance a team to respawn, gives your team a chance to respawn, rather. And because it all happened at the same time, the respawns just weren't there. They were unable to get back to the point and contest it. And now Houston in a great position to tie this series up with 5:05 on the clock.
Oh, no!
He got 2. They got 3 kills.
I love the Bob slow-mo. That looks ridiculous. Bob MVP. Bob MVP. Wrap it up, everybody. We can go home now. Oh, look at his little hat. It's so adorable. I like him in the Outlaws colours, actually. I think green suits him.
Yeah, good.
Good.
I got nothing for that.
All right, okay, well.
I prefer him in the Florida colors. I think pink suits him.
Pink does suit him too, yeah. I think the posh skin is actually one of the better ones. Like with the
gold.
It
just goes to show that, like, if you're attractive, you can wear whatever color you want. And Bob, a handsome Omnic.
Yeah, he's something to aspire to be, that is for sure. Right, what do they have? Mayhem, they got a minute. That's what they have against 5 from Outlaws. Oh, couldn't BQB. I think he's like struggling to see the dynamite there, but it did land at his feet. Same kind of thing happening now. Ooh, attempted bash onto the Genji, but Yaki does dash through him in time.
Yeah, so Houston is not going to hold in this small pack room like the Florida Mayhem did on their defense because they saw exactly what happened there. They're going to try to hold big pack instead. Gives up a little positioning.
I like the way Dante's playing on the high ground here. Yaki can't really do all too much. You see him even using deflect there. He's going to have to deal with Dante somehow, but Dante now just doing enough damage. Oh, okay. Well, the Dynamite finished him off. Yaki was able to get the reset back into his team. Windows open up as well. There's a lot of effects going on, but we know what's happening because the kill feed is just all Mayhem. Yaki firing through that window with ease. That'll be the cleanup now as Linkser ends up going down as well. Linkser might have a bob for this last fight. BQB definitely will. They need this 30 seconds. They need to make most of it. They've got Flux and they've got Rally too.
Yeah. To do that with a minute is really important, but I think I see why Genji is in this composition of just press Ws, because when it gets into a brawl like that, not only are you just hitting every shuriken, but the deflect is sending all the damage the other team is putting back into either their shields or something along those lines. You're getting so much value out of the deflect that's, you know, one of the great reasons to use Genji on this composition.
Ooh. That was almost a one-shot. He's waiting for the recall there, that's why he was spamming on the side. Immortality Field already down. I think that Flux actually got cancelled. Oh, maybe not. There it is. There's the Blade 2 up in the sky. Oh, if you take him out just before he lands, it didn't happen, but it doesn't matter. There's Repel falling, and so many low health members at the back as well. Raucus ends up falling down, and yep, Yaki can do whatever he chooses. Nice deflect. There's the T-Berg. That's what I want to see. And a full cap for the Mayhem with only a minute in their time bank, Hex.
Oh, he's got to get his squats in. How do you think he jumps so high? I mean, you're familiar with leg day, right? So, yeah, he's got to get that done.
Actually. My legs are killing me. I'm not even, oh my word. Let's not talk about that. I'm going to have to sit down.
Well, I mean, Yaki just doing it all right there. And I think the deflect is just so important, and, you know, the changes to that ability as well. So I think, like, when you see those super brawls, right, it's just so much about, like, oh, we have a window up. Let me hit every shuriken through here because there's just a big clump. It's either hitting shields or hitting something. And then when they're sending damage back at you, maybe when those shields go down, you hit the deflect, and it's all finding purchase. And that gives you the opportunity to have these really early blades. Yaki's done a good job of comboing them, trying to hit people who are out of Immortality Field, lift it out of them, dealing with the Immortality Fields. And then just the stylish deflect headshot kill at the end on the Linkser. That's just style points, man. I love it. He didn't need it. He could have just done whatever, but, you know, whatever.
Could have mailed him at that point, yeah, but I'd go for the style points, hands down. It looks cooler in the highlights, you see. Now the frag movie is going to look even cooler. Yaki is just absurd, dude. This guy's been around for a long time as well, mind you. Did end up playing with Kuki, actually, in Apex Season 4, right. An MVP. So there's a lot of history behind Yaki himself, and I'm happy he's in the league for sure. On a team like Florida Mayhem as well, it's like a perfect fit.
All right, well, Houston has a ton of time in their bank. Let's not get blinded by the Florida 1 minute, second 2 points on Volskaya, because Houston a little shy of 5 minutes on their clock to get something done as well.
Oh, wow. Dynamite didn't hit. I thought it would with everybody getting halted, but maybe not. Just out the range, maybe. Although clean one clip onto Gangnam Jin there. He almost went down instantly. And there you go. There's the W comp again. A lot of rocks, a lot of damage, a lot of fire as well. Immortality Field used by both teams. Florida Mayhem's one is a little bit more protected, though. There's the early window. People are pushing past it now. This is going to be a problem for the Outlaws. They're not going to be able to make good use of it. Yaki's already 60% of Blade, mind you, as well. She's been right-clicking the stacked Outlaws players in the side. Dante ends up falling also. He spotted Linkser. Couple of shurikens to the back of the head. He's going to be more than safe for the time being. He knows he has Blade rather soon. Doing a little bit of surfing as well to make sure he's not going to get spotted early. Still a lot of time in the Outlaws time bank though. There's the Blade and the window to force them out even more.
The Outlaws are going to be able to dodge that one, but I really like that Florida's not letting themselves get pushed back in the corner, which is what happened on their very first defense, which led to this 5 minute time bank. The moment they felt too pressured, they pushed out and took the opposing corner rather than just getting knocked all the way back in a pack, but BQB falls first.
He was alone in the background as well. He's trying to take care of Dante, but Dante managed to get the better of him using the recall. There's the Blade right on top of their heads, pogoing on top of them, mind you. Gets stunned, but Immortality Field's already down. He's done a lot of damage too, so Outlaws have to play a little safe. They know they've only got one DPS available though, and BQB has almost got Bob and is making his way back to the point, but it might be a little bit late. There's Fate, there's Gargoyle falling, and that initial pick from Dante onto BQB just made sure Outlaws could steamroll.
Yeah, in Florida, it happened to them again. It's exactly what happened on their very first defense. They eventually just get knocked back into the corner, and then the Houston Outlaws are able to use the architectural corner to supplement their shields, whereas Florida is not, and then it's just an inevitable composition that Houston's going to be able to out-damage and out-shield the Florida Mayhem. Now 3:30 on the clock. Mind you, Houston has to finish this point, or what looked like all of Houston's map in the first half will slip through their fingers.
Rather treacherous map. 2CP in general is They should get a clean pick. It can be rather hard. There's the Bob. Does it do something? Absolutely not, apart from deal a little bit of damage, not much else. I would love to see Bob's stats at the end of the game, to be honest with you. Lynx's Bob versus the Bob from BQB. BQB, by the way, is so low. Doesn't matter, though. He still takes out Dante. Riley coming out from Raucous now. Should be fairly easy. Immortality Field is down for Gangnam Jin, so he's not going to be able to use that to save for the team. There's the Blade from Yaki, though, instantly taking out Repel. Hydration bites the dust as well. Another almost Chad deflect onto Lynxa. He does manage to kill himself, unfortunately, with the coach gun and then just firing himself away. But his team had already died, so it didn't really matter. That'll be out. Mayhem holding out for a little bit longer. And Meko gets staggered.
Yeah,
just
Meko gets hammer and anviled right in that corner there. It's a really nice late kill. And I'm actually really impressed because I thought, you know, one of the big mistakes that Florida had on their very first defense was Chris using the rally when he didn't need to. But now look at this advantage that Chris has over Raucous. And Chris was almost dead, and his team had not necessarily secured the fight just yet. I think it was about the time that Yaki had just gotten his first kill. And Chris holds on to this rally. And that is a huge ultimate. It's a huge advantage to give all your team armor during these fights. And that's going to be a big deal. So they're able to hold on to that. Raucous going to be a mile behind. And Florida's just got this Bob, who's great to stall on defense.
You have a Gargoyle's Flux. Actually, have the sideline damage here. It can be annoying to deal with a Sigma on the side, but you've got a Sigma of your own to kind of deal with that. BKB doesn't end up falling, but Dante ends up going back line with the pulse bomb. Yaki still finding kills somehow. Dude, I don't even know how he does it. I'm going to be real. There's the Flux up in the sky. Dante doesn't get caught, but can he find any kills? Doesn't look like it. He's trying to duel with Chris, who still has a shield available. A Flux from Outlaws now, but he gets instantly killed off. The dash straight through Meko did end his life, stop the Flux from even connecting the Florida Mayhem with the ground. Repel, yeah,
Just
he knows he's dead.
Yeah.
But still, 2 ticks on the board for the Outlaws. This is not lost yet. They only need 33% now to try and complete the map.
Yeah, but only a minute left, and they used a bunch of really important stuff there. And they're going to have the Bob to come in, but I really think this is all about Raucous trying to get to rally. But to do that, you're going to have to push in forward. At 75%, he's going to need some healing swings to go forward. So this is the press W, let Lynxer throw in a Bob. Maybe the Bob is used just for entry to open up space. You throw it right at the tanks. Florida's playing pretty close here right now. But, I mean, really for me, this is about Raucous versus Yaki. Can Raucous get a rally off, or can Yaki shut down this Houston Outlaws? Well, pretty much final push before the rally comes up.
Yaki's got Blade, though. He's right in the back. You can kind of see him trying to go
well, and
for
the BQ Bob is going to be ready, too.
Conspicuous angle. He already uses it. I mean, Lynx already uses his Bob. Rally for Raucous, that's what they needed. Chris is going to go down as well. Wow, instantly! Lynx's Bob yet again doing a whole bunch of damage and creating so much space. I didn't think that was really going to do much, but of course, the Mayhem had to get on the point to stop them from capping. And it just ended up getting flipped over completely. They forced them away. The rally came out, so it was harder for them to push through. What a tough situation for the Mayhem to be in. I thought maybe Yaki's Blade was going to do something, but early Bob for Lynxer did manage to secure the round with it.
The Bob's able to zone them off into a position, and then you just decide if you want to push them or not with the rally. The rally is such a good ultimate. I mean, you can't really overstate how powerful armor is in this game. And so we've kind of seen that as the pivot point for both of these team fights. If we have rally, it's a fight you should win unless you're going rally v rally. Kind of similar to Sound Barrier in those veins, but Sound Barrier operates a little differently. It doesn't feel quite as offensive sometimes as rally can. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of how this second half of Volskaya has gone. Rally wins fights, don't use rally early, hold on to it, because it's just really hard to get the necessary damage in onto a squad that's got armor on it, especially like as a tracer and things like that.
Oof, so 20 seconds above. You wouldn't have thought this would be the time banks if you looked at Houston Outlaws time bank a second ago. 5 minutes. It's crazy time over Sky, but Florida Mayhem burning most of it away. Outlaws on the defense first.
Well, Florida got 2 points with 1:10 in their time bank, so 1 minute's not going to be all that much different for them.
So gets the picks first. He's just been a monster on this Genji, man. I keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it until it's not true, so never will I stop saying it. Well, I mean, come on.
You're so close to applying the ultimate curse right now.
The ultimate curse. Yaki somehow accidentally turns his PC off. Oh my word, that was a lot of damage. That was a shark and a dash plus the dynamite. Linksa already bites the dust. Dante is not going to be able to do a whole bunch either. Yaki is just getting the better of him. You don't normally see a Genji getting the better of the Tracer in that duel, but he's got armor and he's got a lot of healing as well. Speaking of healing, Outlaws, they got none of it. Raucous falling and Rebel falling shortly afterwards. A very quick first point take yet again. 30 seconds in the time bank then for now after they cap this first point. And it could be the story again, Hex, them capping in that 30 seconds.
It just reminds me of Houston last time on Volskaya. If you can shut down Dante, then you can shut down Houston. And shutting down doesn't necessarily mean getting kills, but Yaki was able to shut him down and also start contributing to his team fight. The dash through everybody, once he had Dante effectively zoned out and burn that recall, was enormous. Watch these rallies though. Raucous at 90, Chris at 81. Florida's so close to having so many ults online.
Dante's got the pulse bomb. That's how they opened up the team fight last time around. Can they get it onto the back line? He sees the low Orisa. He actually could take it out before the pulse bomb even hit the floor. Lynx have managed to find his head. Immortality field now for the Outlaws plus the rally. They're going to be very hardy in this fight. There's the blade from Yaki though. They know Emo fields are already down. The lamp's not been used. The dash onto the Tracer. She finds the recall and he can't actually end up finding her. The blade a little bit dull. The flux up into the sky, but Yaki's still getting kept alive by the armor. A flux now for Gargoyle to make sure Raucous pays with it. And this might just be it. They lost someone to the start of the fight, but they're still managing to fight and secure a tick. Gargoyle just a one-man wrecking crew on the sidelines with the help of Gangnam Jim on the back as well. OT is here. Gargoyle is still alive. Doesn't matter though, because Outlaws still have the spawn advantage. They eventually kill off the rest of Mayhem. But not before they managed to find 41.7% on the second point.
Oh, Gargoyle's so good though. He uses the flux and then in the air he's able to dodge the accretion, comes down and is able to duel, knows that he's outnumbered, uses grasp to get himself in fighting form and hope that someone can come back. But that's pretty good. 41% progress onto the second point of Volskaya with only a minute on their clock. Houston's going to have to match or beat it. Yeah, the good thing is we will not have a draw for those who don't like draw and tie scenarios. That is not going to happen here on Volskaya.
God, they're the OT warlords, aren't they, Florida, at this point? Just ridiculously low time banks, but they still managed to make it work. Right, Outlaws, what are they going to do with their 120? They did manage to get the first point in just under, what, 30 seconds before Hex? So
yeah, it was the second point that gave him trouble on the way in.
Not 30 seconds, but close enough.
Yeah, it's going to be all about Houston trying to, I mean, you just have to snowball this and have a better ultimate capability at the second point. So I think Houston's going to try just the smash W kind of technique up front. The problem is, like, Florida is more suited to it because they have that Genji, and then you do get the deflect. But the smashing W for Houston has worked out when they're able to bully Florida into the little corridor that you see right there in front of you. And that's really going to allow Raucous to get all of the healing he needs to get done to be able to rally before Chris on the second point. I really do think Rally has been the game-changing ultimate for both of these squads on this map. Only time will tell if that works for Houston. Florida should know exactly what Houston wants to do. They want to come in left side and force him into the corner.
The armor is so good, Hex. It's disgusting how good armor is, honestly. Would be interesting to see if the break changes do end up going through. Definitely a dominant support with someone like Baptiste. That's
double flank though.
Yeah, I'd be
Houston
scared
came
if
in the back.
so. How did they open up this last time? Well, they got a pick onto BQB. BQB being a little bit more safe this time around, and Yaki's going to be able to want to duel him out on the sidelines. He's got a little bit of a better chance than BQB.
Yeah, super early immortality fields.
Dude, these fights last for so long as well. Like, this is actually incredibly tough now for the Outlaws. They have to get out alive. No, Lynx is going to go down, yeah. This is so incredibly bad. Remember how long these fights end up lasting because the tanks take so long to whittle away, plus the healing, plus the armor? Like, having one fight...
Look at Rally, though.
It costs you like almost 2 minutes sometimes.
Repel dropped his immortality field way too early, and the moment Florida took it out, they just pushed around the corner. Now Chris is going to have Rally. Raucous only at 70% on his Rally. Going to need giant plays out of Repel and maybe Linkser for Houston to try to push this one through.
Look at those health bars.
Really early IF.
Everybody critical. And they already used the ammo field. Dante's trying to set up for a pulse bomb as well as a Bob coming out as well. He's finally doing something. Lynx's Bob is just ridiculous at this game. Gargoyle ends up falling, and the Flux will bring everybody up to the skies. Some of them have the armor left, so they might be okay, but they're still getting whittled down. The Bob from BQB now setting them on the point. Yaki gets the resets. Meko is dead. The pulse bomb to Gangnam Jim was too little and too late. The Florida Mayhem take Volskaya and take 2-0 in the series.
Rockus died at 95% towards his rally that could have swung the fight for the Houston Outlaws, and it's Heartbreak City in Houston right now, as it seemed like it was their map in the first half to finish off the second point with 5-10 as the opposing team only has one. You think that all Houston really needs to do is have a kind of solid defense, but Florida gets through off the back of Yaki, making Genji work for him. It's kind of rare you see players play Tracer at the highest level and Genji at the high levels as well. They don't always go hand in hand when you think of hero pools. Yaki kind of breaking that mold today.
Yeah, I always think of someone like Architect who can play basically anything, and Yaki, mastering the Tracer and mastering the Genji. There are very few players that can do both to such a high level. This Genji was absolutely nuts. BQB as well. They said they wanted to do one thing, and that was shut down Dante, and they did just that. And Yaki actually hit a record-breaking number of final blows as well, like 24, 26, I can't remember.
26. I heard
26, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you were
like
talking. It's good, I got you.
Yeah. 26, yeah. So just absurd, breaking records left, right, and center. And I mentioned before how excited I was for the Mayhem to reform this squad, and it took a little bit of time to kind of gear up and make sure they're in full fighting form. But we're seeing it right here, right now. They are definitely top 3 in the league. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it's been a close match between these two teams. I mean, look, it's 2-0, but Houston has been fighting very tooth and nail. They could come back on this. But let's take a break, and we'll see what our analysts have to say. We'll be with you at Map 3 right after that.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome to our first game break of the day, presented by Pringles Wavy. Zoe here, joined by Costa and Reinforce, and currently the Florida Mayhem are up 2-0. However, don't let this score fool you. It actually has been a close bout so far, so let's talk about what we saw. Given that we are now playing without a hero pool in place, and we are playing on patch 1.49? Yes. 8.
Yes.
4.8, 4.9. Let's go with 4.9. Numbers. They are hard. Either way, given the patch changes and everything, did the compositions we're seeing actually match up with what you would have expected to see, Costa?
It's a little interesting what we've seen, especially on the first map. We saw a lot of different looks. I was expecting Florida to sort of play their bread and butter with the Ashe Tracer, but it seems like they're leaning more towards Yaki on this Genji. And when I first looked at it, it didn't really make any sense, and I didn't really understand the value of it. But then as we went on to Volskaya, it had a lot more to it. The Genji gives a lot more brawl style, especially without his ultimate now that these patch changes have come through. And you can see how much value he can get by just like throwing in right clicks, brawling against the thing. I think the Genji can actually put up a good fight against this Tracer now, which was one of the biggest issues with playing Genji in the past.
On the second round, we did see Dante on that Tracer. Did you like what you saw from the Houston Outlaws comparison to what the Mayhem are running at the time with that Brig and that Baptiste on point?
Yeah, well, we saw on that second round, they played dive against this Brig Baptiste, and I think anyone who's ever played this game on a dive character against Brig Baptiste knows it is almost impossible to get value. There's just so much defensive abilities, and you saw them really struggle to get an effective dive in which they could clean up the entire team, because if they were getting kills, they had to commit so much to get it, and then the rest of the team on the Florida Mayhem just went absolutely rampant. So I don't think dive is going to work against this Brig Baptiste, especially just with all the immortalities and all the armors.
Well, and if we put the composition as a whole kind of to the side, which individuals stood out to you, Reinforce?
I mean, there's been a lot of individuals on the Florida Mayhem that has been impressive throughout the series. It does feel at times like the Houston Outlaws have the advantage in the match, and then the Florida Mayhem actually flip it around. And I think you have to give some credit to Yaki. Obviously, his Genji has been great so far, but also Gargoyle on that Sigma has had a few moments where he clutches us out, or he has a nice gravitic flux. So despite the fact that we're talking a lot about the compositions and how it's impacting the game and the adaptations in place, I still think that the individual skill from the Florida Mayhem is making a big difference in this match, and it's a big reason why the Florida Mayhem are constantly able to claw back into the series and win these maps, because they have such great individual players on this team.
And one which stood out particularly was once more Yaki on his Genji. He was popping, and that's why he made it into our crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy. On Volskaya at the very end, he was pretty much securing that point B for his team.
Yeah, I think this was a great display of what Genji can do in this meta as well, because Costa hit on it, he's very brawly, and if you add in the dash, which is 50 damage, and then you can right click with shurikens and hit 3 shurikens, and that's 90 damage, and you have 140 damage. And then you have the blade, of course, which also deals a ton of damage. So I think that Genji sort of fits this brawly composition, because people will get low, okay? You have so much damage output. You have the gravitic flux that deals 50% of health in damage, and then you have amplification matrix that deals more damage, and then people will get low. And then as a Genji, you can dash through, you can hit the Dragon Blades, etc. And as we should have seen in the stat card here, you can see that Yaki's damage output is just so high as well. So, I mean, he can go in there and get so much damage done, and then you get dash resets, and then it just snowballs a bit out of control. So, Genji now is actually quite viable because of his damage output and his ability to dash reset and follow up on that damage that some of these other characters can do. So the Sigma deals the damage, and then you have Baptiste helping out, and then Genji can follow up on that and make sure that you can sort of brawl with a double shield composition, which is a bit wacky, but you can see it in the stats themselves that Yaki is actually able to do quite a lot and stay alive at the same time, because remember, he has armor pack as well, right? So Genji is actually sustainable and deals damage consistently now, which we're not really accustomed to yet.
Yeah.
Well, coming up, we do have a Junkertown. So what do you guys want to see, Costa? Do you want to see more of the same? Do you think we're going to divert back to a little bit something more sniper heavy? We did see Widowmaker and Ashe as well earlier in the series. What do you think each team is going to show us on Junkertown?
If I was throwing in a guess, I would expect to see pretty much the same concept that we see with maybe Dante on the Tracer and Yaki on the Genji, but I would expect Linksa and BQB to go to the Widow, so strong on this map with the long sightlines, and I expect this sort of brawl-heavy walk-in comp, and just, it's going to come down to the Widows. That's always been the Junkertown meta, so I'm excited to see how this goes, because Lynx has been informed, but BQB is an absolute monster.
I agree with you that I do think that Widowmakers are favored on this map because of the big sightlines, but I will add in, though, that I can see a universe in where you can sort of brawl over the enemy tanks with this kind of Genji composition, and if you're able to win that tank war, then you can sort of snowball this map out of control. So I think there are two viable options. You can either play the Widowmaker, maybe make the Genji work, even though it is a bit unconventional on Junkertown.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is diving straight into that second half of the game. The Florida Mayhem and the Houston Outlaws. Currently, the Mayhem are up 2-0. Let's see if the Outlaws can bring it back in the second half. And for all the action, we once more hand it back over to Joss and Hex.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alors qu'on était clairement mis sous
Gargoyle.
pression.
Gargoyle,
Et le
alors qu'il n'y a pas de
gravitationnel de
transcendance.
Gargoyle, il est parti.
Ouais, il n'y avait pas de transcendance, c'était...
없잖아요, 세팅 있었는데 잠깐만요.
Raté.
단테가 오늘. 야, 단테. To play a little bit more spread out here. Yaki diving onto the back line. What a stick! Turning thin air into wind, it feels like. And there's a shot from Linksa. You beauty! Look at that!
Welcome back, everybody. Florida Mayhem versus the Outlaws. Bob couldn't quite do it to him. They end up going down on Volskaya, meaning match point for the Florida Mayhem right now. It's been a bit closer than we thought it would be, Hex, I must say. Outlaws have definitely been stepping up over the last couple of weeks. Specifically, Linksa, Finnish gifter Esports, truly coming out in force today. No subs, so that does mean Linksa and Dante are going to be in the driving seat for the DPS on the Outlaws.
Yeah, as we go into Junkertown, you would expect much more of the same. Perhaps instead of Ashes, you have Widows. We've also seen a ton of Hangzhou on this map, but I would expect still a double shield tank line and then the similar support lines as well. And I think one of the places that Florida has perhaps outpaced the Outlaws, and this might be part of the Outlaws bringing in different supports and not having the synergy, has just been on the support play. I mentioned a couple times that the Immortality fields were early from the Houston Outlaws, and that was just because so much damage was coming in early on, especially those dynamites. I mean, you really saw the style change from Florida when they got off of the Widow and went over to the Ashe. There'd be so much dynamite, and then something would come in, and that forced a very early Immortality field to come out, and sometimes they weren't like ultra early, but they were earlier than the other team. In Immortality field, when you have opposing Baptiste like that, it's kind of like the old Roadhog adage, like he who does it second always wins, and you would really like to have your Immortality field second to be able to press the issue when the other team is forced to use theirs from taking too much early damage. And so I'd like to see maybe Houston try to clean that up a little, have the shields up, maybe dodge dynamites a little bit more so that they have the IF advantage in some of these fights. But it's been close, man, and like, this feels like one of those matches where the score's not going to tell the difference. I think if you're a Houston fan, you're just bummed about Volskaya because that one felt like you had it, but there was good adjustments from Florida to take that map away.
Yeah, I think we've always had those games, right, where the enemy team has a nothing time bank. You're like, ha, they only got a minute. Whatever, dude. We have 5 minutes, and then you kind of get rolled. You're like, oh, wow, we actually lost that. And it's, yeah, well, it does happen
5 minutes
sometimes,
isn't
right?
that long. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It does burn a race so fast, and these comps take so long to die that those 1 minute, it doesn't even feel like sometimes it's a full fight. And if one person goes down, I think that's almost always over because it does take a little bit of time to get back to the rest of your team. Not only that, by the way, too, my last thought on the Volskaya is the way you're using on defense, especially in the little cubby hole, in the little, like, you know, the alcove bit. Like, you can use it so defensively that the enemy team can't even touch it. And you, as the offense, if you put it past the wall, it's going to get shot almost instantly. It's going to go down. It's kind of the couple of times that was happening for the Outlaws, that it was going out, saving people for the time, but it was getting taken out so quickly, they didn't get, like, the full value from it, you know?
Yeah, this is great prioritization. I mean, we saw Yaki on the Genji always prioritizing it as well. There's a lot of really cool interactions you can see with it too, where a team will get grav fluxed, and then it's usually like the Tracer's job or somebody to go take down the Immortality field if it gets dropped early before the flux is finished, so that when they hit the ground, it's not there. I mean, there's a lot of these kind of millisecond interactions that you see with flux and Immortality fields. Like I said, some of the new abilities that some of these new heroes have are just like ultimates, so getting them out early is just as important.
Yeah, it's a little bit absurd.
We have the Widow duel, though.
Whoa. Oh my word. Yeah, Linksa got clicked on, but it was only a body shot. Didn't hit the head, unfortunately. That would have looked rather clean. This is what I wanted to see, I'm going to be real with you. Linksa versus BQB on the Widows. Junkertown, a perfect map for it. Linksa takes a little bit too much damage again. I want to see how Dante is going to interact, because once more we did kind of see Yaki dealing with him on the flanks. Linksa does find a nice kill to start off with, though. It does signal Dante to kind of jump to the back line and harass everybody and put up pulse bombs so quickly. And him being forced into this small shack. Yeah, goodbye, fate. He tried to chase down somebody and he gets pinned in. It's just unfortunate.
Quite literally taking him behind the woodshed there. And he just gets completely separated, knocked away from his team. Yaki's going to get raucous, though, and then the respawns here.
Was that a deflect kill? I think that was a deflect kill, you know, from maybe Mako? That's a shark. No, a Meko. Even, sorry, just with the spheres. Could be, I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't mean that it's going to take a long time for Orcas to actually get back. They can take a priority position here.
Yeah, they should just be trying to pressure corner here. Dante might have other plans. It should only take him one clip to get to a pulse bomb. Maybe slow him down.
Oh, there he is. There's the pulse bomb. BQB falls, though. to a rock of all things. You think it'd be a Widow headshot, not today. And they do exactly the same thing again. And now they use the flux indoors as well. Like, how could you survive this? Well, I'll give you the answer right now. Bit of a cheating on the quiz. You can't survive it. There's the blade. Goodbye, Yaki. You're not going to get anything off that. Although Chris takes out Linksa, but it don't matter. Flux coming through from Florida, trying to stabilize. Mako does find himself in between a rock and a hard place, but it don't matter in the end. The tanks have no supports. That means they will end up falling. That blade, that does signal to me that Yaki was changing, but he's not doing anything at all. I thought he maybe changed to Tracer, but he's going back on the Genji again.
Because that blade came late, the flux came late. Everything seemed like that fight was already over, but Florida relying on their superior spawn advantage to maybe bring that back and try some hero plays there. But they ended up burning a ton of ultimates, and now they're way behind in the support ultimate race. And they're behind in the flux as well. Interesting fight.
It's going to be Talon back to deal with. Oh, nice headshot from B. Oh my word! Imagine if he took that all the way, just right in front of the team. Wouldn't have been wise. There's the pulse. There's the drag as well! Oh my god, I didn't expect it. Dante! Huge pulse bomb off the back of a suck from hydration. Oh my word. Oh, that was crispy clean. This is the Outlaws that we wanted to see.
And that always relies on making sure that Grasp is down too, Grasp and Immortality Field, and even Bash to an extent so you don't end up getting crushed before your Pulse Bomb comes out. So it's making sure that you are able to get something done with a Pulse Bomb by baiting out all those early, because I've seen games where they halt and they try to Pulse Bomb, but it just gets eaten up by a Grasp because you know exactly what the other team's trying to do. This is down to it for Florida.
This is one fight now. One fight for Florida. Word. How'd you do this against Meko of all people as well? He's going to send everybody up into the skies. Luckily, Immortality was doing a lot. BQB with a kill on the flank on Linksa. Does manage to get away with 2 HP as well. Can he actually make this work? Also, Venomine right in front of him. My word, please, BQB, destroy it. He doesn't end up killing it, but Dante ends up killing him. Yaki almost has another blade on him as well. Florida Mayhem now have the rally armor at their backs too. They finally made it work. If he died to Venomine, I think I would have cried, to be honest.
I mean,
12 seconds to go.
Way.
And the Mayhem
even a shot from a mile away from the Tracer would have finished him anyway. So that one was over, whether he gets hit by the mine or not. But it did take Dante out of the fight, who's the main source of damage, and that allows Florida to come in. They get another flux because Gargoyle is playing like a god. Yaki is very confident.
How does he escape these situations? I do not know. He got bashed, and even Hydration was there to try and follow up with some damage, but ended up happening.
Yeah, well, that's Genji. If you'd watched my stream, you'd think Genji's first name begins with an F.
Fail Genji?
I
don't know. I can't think of anything. Anyway, post bomb. Immortality Field down as well. Yaki's looking at the blade, dashes straight up. There's the Hulk too. That's a big swipe. And a big dash as well. That was onto 3 people. Dante's still going to take out BQB, but should just go down to Yaki there. Easy right click. That's what you want to combo with, really. You haven't got the nano hex, so you can't really go for those very quick animation counters where you dash and then you slash then instantly dash into the ground. Yeah. It does rely on the Halt coming through, and the Halts from both Fate and Hydration have been so good so far.
He's hit a couple shots, but it feels like BQB is BQ bait right now. He's just, like, his whole purpose is to make sure that Dante isn't trying to do frontline Tracer stuff. He's always in the back line, and yeah, I mean, that's not probably how it's intended, but it's how it's working out, that Dante is never really doing damage on the shields or trying to take out tanks. His sole focus has been on BQB.
Absolutely disgusting. Now Gargoyle's taking a nice little position on the high grounds where he wants to be. They have to force him out, but it's very hard to dislodge a Sigma, to be fair. The shield comes up so often, it feels like someone's got a 100% uptime. At least that's what it feels as a support, that's for sure. Nice body shot from BQB. Can't quite finish off the melee, but he should just be able to. I take it back. Dante receives an armor pack just in time. Brooks does end up falling with the rally available. And Gargoyle's still able to control this high ground. He does drop to low now and ends up getting taken out by Mako. So, Meko. I don't know why I keep saying Mako. I've got sharks on the brain. I don't know why.
Well, you are an aquatic enthusiast, so
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Mako sharks are really cool.
It's really good for Houston to be able to stabilize there, because now they have the choice if they want to play around the bend forward and do this chokehold or not right around the first point. Seems like they're just going to play around bend. That's a nice force of the Immortality Field. That's a pulse bomb that gets something done.
Still going to survive. Oh, it ends up getting taken out just at the end. I think it expired That's the combo you're looking for. Just a pulse to force the out of mortality and then instant flux. And you can see this is really kind of how Tracers have been playing recently. They just up in your face all the time because they have armor. They really can't die if they have armor. 200 HP plus the damage reduction is absurd for a Tracer because the blinks is very hard to hit it regardless, and it just makes Tracer just a killing machine.
Reminds me of the very, very old comp where Symmetra used to give shields, and Zen's orb was permanent.
God,
it was
that
double
horrible.
Tracer or Tracer Genji, whichever you wanted.
Absolutely horrible comp to face. That will be the rally, and that will be... Yaki's still blading in the back. Is he going to be able to finish off Raw? Because he's going to have to get through armor plus everything else as well. And they do manage to do it. The damage was enough for them to bait the Outlaws into the small room, and they do manage to do it. Fate was just pumping in the damage. Yaki again, like, the blades aren't the flashiest of all things, but they're doing the DPS that they require through the armor. I thought there was an easy win there for the Outlaws, and I think they did as well as they pushed so far in.
I mean, you think of Genji as an isolation flanking hero to get on the sides and take people one-on-one, but in those giant clumps, I mentioned it, deflect is so good, dash is getting ultimate value, and you're not missing shurikens. So you're not showing up in the kill feed, but the amount of damage output that Genji's able to do in those close quarter fights cannot be overlooked.
Ooh, Gargoyle on the high ground yet again. He's going to have to help BQB. Yep, BQB's just going to die to Dante and Meko in the side.
You gotta use this ult. You gotta use this ult here if you're...
They are going to... Okay, they didn't touch. The words are coming out of my mouth. They are going to be able to touch, and I got halfway through it before they didn't. That dash looked like it connected. Oh, they had the ults to work with too.
I didn't see the exact moment of the card, so I'm always hesitant to call C9s because sometimes people are just wrong. I'm pretty sure that one was.
Yep.
I mean, Gargoyle needed to ignore the Tracer, get to the point, and use Flux. That maybe opens things up for his team to come in a little bit quicker. But yeah, I believe that was the good old letter-number combination there.
Do you know what would be really cool? This is really cool, actually. Well, after this,
on the ground.
Instant
and then they
drag
hold him into it.
Oh, he's so clean, dude. That's just ridiculous. What would be really cool, actually, is a visual representation. I know someone did manage to make, and it was very cool, a visual representation of people's hitboxes and head hitboxes as well in the workshop using the little spheres. I would love to see that on the payload as well, so you could see exactly how far away you can be, because I am with every Overwatch player, I think I can say. Sometimes the hitbox, is a little bit deceptive of, like, I'm touching right now, so it's not a C9, and I'm not touching, because in my head, that Orisa was like, okay, Orisa's kind of a large model.
Yeah,
it looked like it was going to connect,
Yeah.
but obviously the game was like, no, not today.
Yeah, was that a CarQ video?
It was a Karki didn't make it, I believe, but he did the
but
video
somebody
on
else
it,
had done the hitboxes. So
it was very cool.
A request to have that done. Even on some of the control points, it can be weird, but I think that's normally associated with tick rate, not checking in time. But I like to see the vertical control point hitbox because it gets weird sometimes when you jump. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. That's Houston on the defense able to stop Florida, or Florida able to stop themselves, rather.
Oh my god, again, did you see that? Dante goes back in with armor and just gets instantly body shot. He knows he has to back out. Can't really contend with anything, but I was speaking to Jake about this the other day. All you need to do is, if you're a Brig, just armor pack your Tracer, armor pack your DPS, don't worry about the tanks. Because your Baptiste will be able to heal most of them up rather easily. His healing output is a little bit absurd. A little bit absurd amount of damage coming out from Yaki as well. Nice little 3-shot with the Shurikens, takes out Linkser. And that halts into Gangnam Gym just firing away. And that'll be the first fight.
We talked about armor pack being good with Tracer. It's pretty good on Genji as well. You know, 250 with armor pack allows you to make some of those plays, and with the escapability and engagement abilities that Genji has, you go for that. You're able to dash through, then if you're in trouble, you just deflect and you get out of there, or vice versa, you deflect and then dash to safety. And at 250 with armor, my goodness. I mean, we didn't see a lot of this because Brig was out of the hero pool, but yeah, Brig's a really good hero. I understand why people kind of want to make some changes to her.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Pretty good. So is Dante. He's got Pulse Bomb. Can they do the same again? Hydration definitely has the grab. There's the grab going out. Can't really find anything now. Pulse Bomb went on the ground. They attempted to do the same thing, but now they have to deal with Yaki's blade. A stun on him. He's got a lot of armor though, almost 400 HP. There's a dash reset onto Raucus. That'll be it done, I think. They're still going to commit the Flux, however. I'm not sure they can follow up with any kills though. I say that as Gargoyle does end up going down to Linksu, who's sitting a mile away, and now as the sights too. Yaki has to back off, but that Flux finding one kill could be all that they need. They're going to be able to regroup a lot quicker than the Mayhem can.
Yeah, both of these sites are up. You always want to answer an infra site with an infra site of your own if you have the ability to do so. Maybe you wait a second or two so you can get a later shot onto it. But right now, Florida's defense is waiting for Gargoyle to come back because he's going to have the Flux up. Gangnam takes down Dante. Dante's been held in check.
Yeah, this whole time. Well, they did say that's what they wanted to do, right? Was just shut down Dante, and they think it's an easy win. They've been doing it so far.
Yeah, you see it in sports all the time. You isolate a team's obviously best player, and you say, someone else has to beat us. We're not letting this guy beat us. Someone else is going to have to.
It's been looking that way. Yeah, Lynx are taking the Dance with Death there up in the skies. Okay, Yaki spamming on healing is always perfect. There's the Flux, there's the dash as well. He's going to have the blade, but he's fairly low. Gangnam ends up going down. Dante finds his revenge, and now he's in a 1v1 versus BQB on the side. He's got the recall out when Lynx manages to find his head. The blade's going to come through and manage to find one kill, but can they get anything else done? They are bleeding right now with only Chris to heal them, and Chris is low as well. Dante ends up finishing him off, and the Outlaws, just like the Mayhem on this first point push, managed to do it with just under a minute to spare.
Yeah, Gargoyle wishes he was just a statue on a building some point now, but he gets caught out late. Houston's going to be able to grab this second point. They're going to have the rally coming up, but not a rally advantage as Chris is holding on to his. Let's see how far Houston can push here. It's always interesting on these maps after first points and second points get captured. It depends on where you win the fight. If you can set up forward on high ground, it seems like Florida is in a good enough spot that they're going to be able to take the natural defender's high ground up the stairs here. Dante might have other ideas, though. Pulse Bomb you can just toss in. Pulse Bomb with Infrasight is actually a really underrated combo, in my opinion, because this is when you can really seek out which target you want.
Yeah, they're waiting out the sights as well. He's going to jump to the back, throw it in. Holt coming through as well. There's another one! The Holt into the Pulse Bomb. The combo they were looking for. Gangnam Jim and Gargoyle are going to go down. And this should just be it, really. I mean, they've got rally armor going off as well. It's going to be incredibly tough for the Florida Mayhem to kind of isolate someone and take them out. BQB does have sights. They can scope where everybody is, but they know where they are. They're going to be on the payload. Flux onto the high ground too. Able to round about them. And Chris falls. So yeah, just a slow walk in for the payload now. Oh, it's been looking so good for the Outlaws. You can see their improvement week to week to week. It's been a spectacular thing to watch. Yaki trying to chase people down, but the payload has been capped, buddy. So you're going to have to get back to the rest of your team in just a moment. He's got Blade online, but 3 minutes and 20 seconds to not even get it to last here, Hex. Very winnable for the Outlaws right now.
I'd have to go back and watch replays to see if this is the case, when cooldowns are up or not. But I wonder if Dante throwing these sticky bombs on the ground is intentional, because then it doesn't alert Gangnam Jin that he's been stuck. So you think about that halt into it. I'm not sure if the Mortality Field had been used yet, but that one he threw it on the ground, and I don't think IF was on cooldown, but he didn't get the alert that he was stuck, and it's a little bit much, or it's a little bit more difficult to know that there's a pulse bomb there if you don't get the alert on the screen. That'd be some 5-head kind of strategy.
I mean, hey, that's a good pulse bomb again. Gangnam ends up falling. The Mortality Field was down at the time, like it was on the floor. There's the blade, there's the dash up in the air. The grab does come through, but there's no damage ready to follow it up. They're really relying on this blade doing a lot, and there you go. The C9 happened, but this time wasn't quite so much. Even I forgot where the golden box of victory was. Outlaws are going to take Junkertown and keep themselves alive in the series.
Yeah, that one hurts from Florida because it's an unforced error and you hate doing it, but it's also that they were unable to really contain Dante from the big pulse bomb early. The second point was a non-existent defense because that pulse bomb hit the ground and they were able to get so much done off of that. I mean, when you lose 2 and you're in that position, they weren't even taking the high ground either. But the game plan for Florida was to completely shut down Dante. There were moments where it seemed like that was happening, but it's a player that you can only hope to contain. He's going to get his at some point in time, and Dante really is the heart and soul of this Houston Outlaws team, and I don't think anyone even on the roster would disagree with that.
Oh, absolutely not at this point. Him and Hydration has been working so well together so far. Yeah. Outlaws still in the series. Reverse sweep potential on the table. We're going to jump to a quick break. Map number 4 up soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, everybody. It's the Outlaws facing up against the Mayhem, and Outlaws with sweeps on the cards as they take Junkertown. Ever so small C9 there for the Mayhem Hex. It did look like the Orisa was touching, or the Genji was touching. Someone had to touch, and they had the ults to do it with as well. They had Flux, and they had a whole lot more in their infantry too.
Yeah.
It was just slightly unfortunate, but Outlaws showing you what they're made of. Hydration and Dante with these sick halt into pulse bomb combos.
Yeah. So a lowercase C9, not like the original C9, which is definitely an uppercase C9 with an exclamation point after it. But yeah, I mean, those just always feel bad, and you got to forget about them. It's an unforced error. Florida would have liked to sweep through this because, remember, in the standings for the Summer Showdown, because there's not a ton of matches beforehand, some of the seeding is likely going to get decided based on map differential. So right now, there's a couple teams sitting at like 2-0. But that fourth seed, with sitting at 1-1, I think it's Atlanta right now, is up for the taking. And that fourth seed is enormous because you get the first round bye. And then also, you, like I said, you want those 5 and 6s so you can choose your opponent in those first rounds too. So losing that map for Florida could end up costing them first seed. It could cost them who they want to play against. They would have loved to sweep there. Unforced errors. Oh man, they don't feel good. But now you just have to forget about it and move on. And we're going to move on to Blizzard World here, Jaws.
Yes, we are indeed. So that does signal to me as there's no changes for either side. It's going to be the same kind of thing. It has to be, right? I mean, Widow versus Widow again. I think Ashe is a little bit better on this map, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Widow's kind of territory and how far she wants to keep people away can be a bit impeded by people just walking up, and there's a lot of cover to hide behind. Dynamite's obviously so good too at these small little choke points. So we have Outlaws on the offense first, Mayhem on the defense.
Especially first, where a team has to decide if they're going to go through left side or they're going to go through right side. Either way, it's an area where a Dynamite can just absolutely crush a team early on. So I do imagine, though, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of tank changes. Double Shield is just really, really good. Orisa and Sigma work really well with the DPS that you have, too, to be able to halt people in, especially the halt and the bomb. It's a little interesting that Yaki has decided to stay on this Genji throughout the entire match. I mean, he's been playing it really well, so it's not interesting in that aspect. Just like, I know how good his Tracer is, and I think he's done a good job on the Genji of shutting down Dante. The best job you can do as a Genji to shut down Dante and force out recalls and things like that, but I think his Tracer would be more consistent at shutting down Dante, because when I watch Yaki's Tracer, I know how he plays a little more defensively, how he's always focused on the Tracer, but it seems like he really wants to ride with the ability to get the Dragon Blade going, but Dante and Hydration have combined for just as many kills as a Dragon Blade could.
Same old comps on both sides. Nothing
Brig is good.
just yet. Yeah.
Brig's good, Bap is
Brig
good.
is good.
Immortality Field is a pretty good ultimate. I mean, just ability.
Let's go on cooldown, man. Come on.
I know, I mean, like, but it is better than his ultimate. in my opinion.
Some of the time, yeah, most definitely. Especially in these kind of comps. It does feel like Immortality Field does a little bit more. Big damage from the dynamite there already from Lynx. It's all about building up these bombs as well. I mean, that's the best way to kind of stave off the blade. We talked about it before. Attempted one clip by Dante, doesn't quite end up finding it. Couple too many shots to the body, but the armor does really help him. But somehow, still, like, no one's paying attention to him whatsoever on this flank. And it's not even a big flank. He's just on the side. Oh my word. Okay, they're dead. It's done. Goodbye. First point is going to be Outlaws. Easy peasy. Yeah, Galanjin just gives up his life. You know he can't go for the long reset here. Spawn positions aren't crazy far away, so it should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue with his Genji versus the Tracer, because the Genji wants to be involved in the frontline melee there. Wants to hit shurikens, wants to hit a 3 or 4 man dash to start building up that blade, and then use the deflect to win the shield war up front. But it means that there's no one watching the back line, and yeah, Dante, there's no way he should have been able to get BQB there, but there's no one to protect that angle, because Florida is just so focused on taking these fights up front, but when they're forced to do it defensively, it doesn't look as good. When Florida chooses to take a really close quarter fights on their terms, they've generally won those. Right now, Dante just outperforming Yaki in the very early stages of Blizzard World.
Maybe it's a little bit too something to say just yet. Oh, Lynx was on the side there. You saw him not take a shot. Didn't really want to reveal himself, but BQB did get the better of it. Oh, double headshot into the body shot as well. Immortality Field wasn't even... Oh, no, it was needed. Sorry, they did throw it out. That pulse bomb. Now a little bit wasted. 2 people from the Outlaws have gone down already.
Yeah, you're trying to equalize there with the pulse bomb, trying to get something done. Maybe you end up getting a giant kill without the Immortality Field going off, but... Now the Immortality Field should be back up by the time the next major engagement happens, so not getting a ton done there. Cart push though.
Nice little headshot. There's the Bob. There's the hold straight off the top. That Bob is all but useless now. Well, maybe not, as they do get lifted up into the sky. But once again, it's going to get interrupted. Meko is having these fluxes that kind of just opens up the field for Gargo to hit a sick rock, and he does just that. No one takes the damage as they crash back down to earth. They just kind of lazily float like a feather. And that'll be the cart being pushed ever so close now to the second point by Dante as well.
He's all over
now it's actually Mayhem making the big rotation. This is a big play from Dante, not pumping damage in, just making sure that Mayhem have to pay attention to this payload.
Dante's pushed it almost from first all the way to second by himself, and now he's back on it, and it's just pulling all these players out of position. Now pulling Yaki out of position is not that big of a deal, he can just double jump up, but now it allows Houston to get in the high ground position that they want.
Existing is just sometimes enough as the Tracer, that threat of the Tracer on the side and on the payload is enough to force people out of position. It's a big dynamite. The Bob's going to come through from BQB as well. It's not going to do all too much. He just gets burnt through. Yaki with the armor has the blade. Will he be able to find anybody with it though? That cart is getting oh so close to this second point. Dante struggling to deal with this armor on the carries right now over the Florida Mayhem. I say that as the Holt did end up making sure he got the kill. The equalizer for the blade. Can he find the kill? Onto Sigma. Too much healing. Deflect as well. Couldn't quite get that last slash. He does end up surviving, and Lynx does end up biting the dust, but that payload so close to getting to that payload. Luckily, to that point even, luckily Yaki was able to just dash in there, find the reset onto Repel. That was, again, very close for the Mayhem. They're still kind of fighting on it, but it should just be a clean-up. It's only Raucous with the heals.
Yeah, they were so close to getting Chris down in that fight too, but a really good focus from his fellow support, able to clean that one up. And that's a long brawl, but Houston is able to take the first point so quickly that they're going to have 2:20 left on the clock to be able to push forward. And most importantly, they have Rally to push forward into this next fight. Can throw down a Bob as well and a Flux. Florida has most of those same ultimates online as well, though, so we'll just see where the positioning ends up or if Dante can get an early pick, because pulling pretty even in the ultimate abilities. It's kind of just about the execution. Generally, I would like Houston's position here to just take high ground, but they cede high ground and try to wrap around on lower left.
Yeah, they got the rally.
This rally
stop a lot of that damage coming through when they rotate. Beautiful Flux. You see Yaki dash back into the team to try and get some help. But the Flux did manage to catch him and kill him on the initial draft upwards. Still going to be able to go onto the payload though. As one tank ends up going down, there's the next one as well. 1 minute does remain. They're so close to getting this payload in. It's 0.66 of a meter away. Pel's caught off onto the sidelines. This is the worst situation possible for a support, just shielded off by a Sigma. It's very frustrating to kind of deal with. And now only a minute for the Outlaws. This is match point, mind you, as well for the Mayhem. They managed to hold them here. That's a good sign going into their attack.
Yeah, it's really actually pretty smart to put a couple people on the payload too to make sure that you don't just get back capped. You saw how much that Dante was doing in the back end there, but Florida with their win condition up as Blade and Bob about to be online. No support ultimates for Houston. And Lynxer's Bob gets something done is really the only thing. And Houston again going this low ground, but they just get halted.
Oh, everybody's in that corner. He deflects a few bullets, a few everything else, but he manages to find one kill, but it might be enough. Dashes straight back to the payload to make sure it doesn't get back capped as well. Bob's going to be on the payload, but ends up getting pushed off. Gargo ends up trading out as Meko takes 2 with him, and the Bob just providing so much space as well, and additional damage. Finally, the Outlaws are able to take over this game, but a late game Bob might just be enough. Yaki dives himself to the back line, and the Bob from BQB finds 2. 23 seconds now remains, 1 person left to touch. Dante will be able to get back there just in time with maybe a pulse bomb as well.
It's going to be close. The Blade was so good to take down Raucus before that last fight started. That does mean that Raucus is at 91%. If they can get a touch and they can get a stall, they can get a rally up during this fight.
I think on the Flux though.
The Flux have the Flux off.
Yeah, exactly that. And a recall already forced out on Dante, so he has to go very aggressive to actually get a pulse bomb working. Rally coming out from Raucus could be their saving grace. They still have to deal with this Flux though. Just going to look for a big rock or another interrupt. There's the rock. Sky high, just completely missed Gargoyle. No one gets off the payload as Lynxer manages to find a click ahead. He's on the side and managed to kill Yaki as well, who went for the dive. Lynxer with 2 leads Outlaws in a man advantage. Gatland Jim ends up falling down as well. On the brink of defeat, the Outlaws are going to be able to get to the second point just in time. 1 minute and 27 seconds, though, does remain in their time bank to push it on to third.
Yeah, Lynxer with a clutch play there and then able to get the rally out early from the team. And nice dodging of the Flux that might have pulled them all off the point. It was Hydration using the Fortify to stay on that point. And they were able to get nothing done. But meanwhile, the rally was going on anyway. So it saved most of the lives from the Flux that was going to happen and come in. Now a minute extension on the clock. Flux and a Pulse Bomb. One of my favorite combos is to put the Pulse Bomb under where the Flux is going to land. And then just let people land on the landmine, as it were. Ooh. Eats it though, Gargoyle. Nice eat.
Yeah. Big eat. Nice to not add breakfast. Ganjin does go down to Yaki in the side. I love seeing Yaki dive in on these traces. Just force Dante's recall every single time. Beautiful Flux though. And that will be Meko picking up 2. I mean, this is it, right? I mean, you have to take out one person and then you can push extremely aggressively, because if you're putting yourself in a situation where you're up against a wall, the Immortality field is nowhere near covered and it can get taken out before people crash to the earth, and that's exactly what happened. BQB gets 1 clip by Dante on the side, and the cart is not touched, and the cap is the Outlaws. 16 seconds in the time back as well. God, it's very reminiscent of Junkertown at this point. Maybe they just weren't, they don't have Lucio, so they can't speed back to the point, but it, again, just felt like someone could touch. Oh,
yeah, that one.
I don't know.
I mean, they had Ball on the field, and he came out early in touch and then retreated to go back. You have to have a pretty solid game plan of order of operations when that happens. Like, okay, we want to touch, but I'm not just going to go let the Ball sacrifice on point. So when Ball goes in, that's going to buy us time, and we can come back, and then the Sigma's going to dance, and then Ball will come back in, and then Tracer or Genji. You have to have that figured out ahead of time, because that's just another unforced error. They definitely could have touched. Yaki had Blade. At the very least, you could dash Blade and dash again and get there. They had the tools to do it. That's 2 in a row that you hate to see it, I guess. It's the easiest way to say it. You hate to see it.
Well, it could come round to bite them Well, Outlaws get the reverse sweep. That'll be the turnaround of the century. If you think back to the very start of these games when we were looking at the standings, both teams are on 1-1. The only difference was Outlaws had a -1 map differential over the Mayhem, so obviously it will send Outlaws sky high in the rankings. This is the final week, of course, of the Summer Showdown qualifier. Outlaws coming
you
back
need 2
to bite
wins.
Mayhem.
You're going to need 2 wins if you want top 4. Because one of these teams at the end of the day is going to end up with 2 wins, and that would put them in the top 4, because Atlanta's sitting at 4 at 1-1 in the Summer Showdown. Of course, a lot of Overwatch to play. We've got 3 more matches after this today, and then 4 matches again tomorrow, not including APAC, which is tonight. So a lot could happen so far, but right now there is a 4 spot in North America up for grabs.
So close going into with the qualifiers. It's been quite surprising, and I think surprising to a lot of fans of teams too. Outlaws, like I mentioned before, looked very good. Week on week seems to be improvement. It's just the heroes that they want to play. You can see Dante just kind of skulking around in the background, just trying to find BQB, although the 250 health plus the armor on top as well is a bit disgusting to deal with. Just slowly whittling away the health bars, waiting for these bobs to build up. Link's will be able to get his out first, I can imagine, as he is at 80% to 73 of BQB. Still, Dante is proving to be an absolute menace. Yaki gets taken down as well. A nice little halt onto Gargo. Finishes him off with the dynamite. And these fights take so long, Hex. Keep saying it, but look at the time bank already. 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah. Hydration showing his former damage dealing potential. Like, get the halt, and then the headshot tracking onto Yaki completely ends that fight. And Houston didn't have to use anything. I mean, that was a non-ultimate fight, and Houston was in a good spot. Equalizing on the outlaw damage done, but, I mean, Yaki just went in, and I get why he's been able to get in and get out all day, but he goes in, he gets halted, and then that's pretty much the end of that fight for them, because they don't have the burst potential they need from the damage. But they will have the blade up for this next fight.
Forcing out people. Are they going to go with the halt again? Oh, Dante was looking to set up. You see, they actually forced out the eat from Gargoyle. Very slow setup. Kinetic grasp. Indeed.
They're all like 18
goes down
syllables.
again. They are, yeah. Sigma's abilities. Well, he's a... Oh, okay. Well, Pulse Bomb not great, but Bob's doing something again! God, just give Bob MVP. In fact, can we do that? Hello, production? Can we do that? That's 4 kills for Bob on this map already. I think Lynx are maybe just gifting Bob the kills. I don't know. Have him. If Outlaws win, player of the match, Bob. That's my vote.
You just want to see him in full screen green in all his glory.
I do, yeah. It'd be hilarious. It'll be a sick graphic, too. Accuracy, 100%. There's the read. Here we go.
True. Well, I think Bob can miss from a distance.
No.
I think there's a spread on it.
Oh, it actually ran over 2 people. Wow, I didn't clock with me. He actually just steamrolled through me. Proper rugby tackled them to the ground. Nice immortality field, but BQB goes down already. The Flux, of course, lifts people above the immortality field. And now, Mayhem are in 1-fight territory. Outlaws just turning to mincemeat at every single possible opportunity.
Yeah, they've been the more aggressive team.
He's good.
They've been the much more aggressive team. They're taking fights, and they're not just waiting for the fights to come to them. They're being aggressive on the defense, which is always a good sign. However, silver lining for the Florida Mayhem is that they did not use key ultimates there. They're going to have Flux, Blade, Supercharger. It is time to make sure that everybody hits Q and doesn't go to spawn. Dante is going to be the only stopper that they have, maybe get in the back line and stop this fight before it starts. But this is final fight for Florida.
That is a very far back Supercharger. There's the Pulse Bomb forced out the Immortality field. Window's going to get used as well? That's an odd angle for it to be used. They're going to be able to get 0 damage done with that. That's exactly what that's going to achieve. They have Flux, they have Blade. That's the 2 big ults. However, Lisa still has that Bob available to him if he doesn't go down. Big rotation for the Florida Mayhem. Can they catch someone off guard? The Blade in the back is going to get booped away by the Rock, and the boop as well from the Brig. Instantly rocked. And now Outlaws with a man advantage. Flux up in the air, Immortality field used as well. Florida Mayhem throwing everything they've got, but they're still taking the L. Chris falls, Fate as well, and now 1 person on the point is Gargoyle. The Outlaws are coming back. Hydration finishes off the rest. OT ticks through, and they full hold the Mayhem on Blizzard World as Outlaws and now tie the series up 2 apiece.
It just looked like the Mayhem just stopped talking on their offense there, and there was maybe it's a byproduct of having C9 2 maps in a row, that the morale is just low. But when you use 2 damage boosting abilities and the angles that they did, you might as well throw them in the trash. I don't know if they were expecting Houston to walk into it or to expect Houston to use abilities in response to just hearing the voice line, but that supercharger, yeah, it's got a good range, not that good. And the amplification matrix, the window came down, and maybe it was for heals. I didn't see exactly what happened there, but that was in a very strange spot. And then it's just desperation time, and everybody knows what's coming. It's like, well, they're going to have to use the blade here, and everybody just has their stuns on cooldown. He gets bashed, he gets rocked, he gets deleted, and it makes me happy to watch Genji get crushed like that, but I also like Yaki, so it's kind of but yeah, map 5, Jaws, let's go.
Straight on to Control as our last map type. Who's going to take the W? I know Houston Outlaws fans are probably screaming at home right now. Florida Mayhem looking to deny the reverse sweep. We're going to jump to a quick break, guys. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss it.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
We started out on Control and we're going to end it on Control. Nepal is going to be the map. Outlaws 1 map away now. Hex and 2 stages on Nepal from claiming a reverse sweep over the Mayhem. I said before and I'll say it again, they've been looking good week after week after week. Improvement is just ridiculous from the Outlaws. If they can take a W here, really knocks the confidence out of Mayhem, I think.
Well, just think about the implications of what might happen here, because Florida has been this team on the rise. They went really far in our May Melee. They've looked good. They've got superstar players. They've got potential. But if Houston can take out Florida, you start really re-examining what you think about this Houston team. Look, the meta lines up with the players that they have, but then Houston would move to, I believe, 7-10 on the season, getting close to that 500. They might end up snagging a 4 seed or higher based on how the rest of it plays out here in the Summer Showdown. And then, once you get the 4 seed, you're already in the second round. You can get bonus wins. Like, theoretically, they could be at 500 after the Summer Showdown going into the latter half of the season. And yeah, if the metas keep favoring them, if they keep getting the performances they are out of Hydration, who's moved into the main tank role, we know what Dante is going to bring. If the supports can start playing just perfectly a little bit better, and Meko's having a couple great rounds, like, you really, if they pull off this reverse sweep, you have to give them credit for their mental on going down 0-2 and bringing it all the way back, and you really start to kind of redefine what you think about the Houston Outlaws if they're able to beat a team that I think is a top caliber team in the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, both Meko and you said just their Hydration too have just been performing out of their minds. The halts from Hydration have just been so clean, comboing it with basically everything, and that's what this meta is about, really. It's the halt into rocks, halt into dynamite, halt into pulse bomb, of course, we saw in Junkertown. And a small stat for you also on that map, Blizzard World. Dante went 11-0. He didn't die.
Yeah, I mean,
which is ridiculous.
I feel like they're forcing this Genji a little bit. I mean, I know that he's better now, and it's in a decent spot, and it looks like Genji can be good. But I think if you had a Tracer here to make sure that Dante couldn't do whatever he wanted, then you just let your other 5 guys run up front. The style that they're playing with the Genji, I think, is more conducive to a let's bash them in the face and let's try to take a 6v5, ignore the Tracer. But when you're playing a team like Houston Outlaws, the ignore the Tracer strat ain't gonna work. And I would like to see a switch there. I think they're trying to force it a little bit, thinking that they're just a better team than Houston. But a lot of guys from Houston are really stepping up. Like I said, Meko, he's picking up 2 spots and 3 spots in situations. And right now in the meta, in almost every meta, you need a good Sigma. If your Sigma play is below average, you're going to lose a lot of duels and thus a lot of fights. But all the marbles, let's go to Nepal. Hey, Jag, which stage don't you like of Nepal? You always have one stage you don't like on Control.
What stage do I dislike the most? I think this stage... No, I actually quite like Sanctum. It's quite open air. I like playing it as both DPS and support. I think this stage, I'm going to be real with you.
I just get knocked into the hole too often as Sanctum because I have 0 game awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, so do I sometimes. I was playing Genji the other day. I'm like, oh, Genji's probably my least played hero for sure. And every time I tried to play him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to pop off like Yaki. I'm going to pop off like, Lynx or some good Genji player, right? And then I just end up feeding into the back line because I've got no armor back. And then they're playing the Brig.
I just feel like I'm always running the gauntlet. Like, I'll be on the point and be like, okay, I gotta dodge this Lucio. All right, Lucio's gone. Oh, I gotta dodge this halt. I'm out. And then I get hooked off the edge from the Roadhog. The Roadhog I didn't see from a mile away, right? It's like, I got 2 out of 3. There's just so much that can kill me.
If there's no Hog, Sanctum makes me happy. If there's Hog, a little less so. Teleports out the start for both teams. Siaki again on the Genji. Exactly the same comps they've been running. So you don't mess with success.
Well, but if you're Florida, you just lost 2 maps in a row in which you see 9, so maybe you mess with that.
I don't think they want to be reminded, Hex. Let's not remind them too much.
Well, you do have to have a short memory about
as well.
Yeah, this is really nice. Able to force them all the way back. It's probably just Dante down here, right?
Yeah. I mean, he stalls out for a little bit of time here. It's not the worst thing in the world. That could have been a very bad spot for him to be in. Does mean, though, because the Florida Mayhem have to contend with Dante on the point, as a headshot can't quite get the Shuriken. Yes, he can. I take it back. The right click is clean. And even Rox ends up going down because BQB's on a nice little, I wouldn't call it a flank, just on an off angle.
No,
headshot onto Repel as well, and that should be over.
This is the great spot to be as an Ashe, because there's no angle they can come from. You know that the rest of the team always wants to push that top left. Yaki gets a parting shot there, but I don't know, it just looks much more difficult for Yaki to be able to duel Dante than if he was on Tracer, in my opinion. I mean, Yaki's one of the greatest duelists, but maybe he just respects the Tracer that much that you need the utility of a Genji to be able to pressure that. You saw deflex coming out and then the dash when you're forcing out the deflect from Dante, so I don't know. I mean, Yaki's Genji has looked good. I just miss his Tracer. I guess it's just my own bias coming.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Well, that's a good pick already. That Amp Matrix is a whole bunch of work, especially if you're support. It's probably one of the hardest carrying supports right now if you want to take that into solo queue. That's a Bob in a corridor. Yeah, you're dead. No surviving that one, unfortunately. Yeah, goodbye. Oh, dear. There's him a hello and a goodbye. 45% now building up, and look at the ults coming online for the Mayhem too.
Raucus took the strangest entry there, because he had 2 people on his team in there, and they were all fighting, and he chose to go behind Florida to try to bash through and get to his team, but they just crushed him before he could get there. Huh.
Well, it shows really in the ult charge. 96% building up to 100 for Chris, only 75 for Raucus. There's a plug on the high ground. Can Meko? No, he doesn't quite get anybody. And Mortality Field was a little bit too early, or late even, for him to secure the kill. There's the blade in the back, dash on the wall. Dynamite finishes him off, but Dante's already dead, mind you, and they're forcing them back into this corridor. Now 1 fight territory for the Mayhem as 85% is on the clock. Rally armor as well is going to fade off a little bit before 100%. They're going to get chased all the way to spawn. Yaki's back onto the Tracer 2, Hex. You got your wish.
Well, I mean, it's definitely to get back into the fight, but Houston's gonna have a really tough time here. They're gonna have to fight this like 6v4. They're gonna have to try to stall so that they can get some of the tanks back onto this point.
He has pulse. He gets stunned and can't even use the pulse. One dynamite will do it for Lynx's ult, but he can't quite get there. He just needs one body shot, anything, or another body shot. Take it back. He's got 3% away, and he might just be able to get it. He's got the armor, he's got the brig right behind him, so you can receive the armor pack when needed. There's the bomb, eventually comes out. It's in the center of the point now, but Immortality feels doing a little bit too much work. Gargoyle will put himself up an ult as well. The stage is Florida Mayhem's. The post bomb, unfortunately, from Dante couldn't get much because he got taken out and stun locked before he could even chuck it out.
Well, my favorite nickname for Brigitte, and she's gone through some changes since then, but it still applies. The Tracer Eraser. It's not as bad as it used to be when she had a better shield and the whip shot, I believe. You could just full combo a Tracer, and there were times where if there's a brig on the fields, and it didn't matter if they were good or bad, you just couldn't play Tracer. But getting stunned is the antithesis of what you want as Tracer. You always want to be moving, you have the ability, the mobility. It gets taken out, and they focus on taking out Dante there. I'm interested to see if Yaki plays Genji or Tracer here. Because I thought the Tracer was to get back into the fight, but it may have been just like, okay, this will shut down Dante. Yep, Tracer.
There you go, Tracer. Tracer. So we have mirror comps at last. Yaki's had enough of this Genji. I think Outlaws at this point have kind of read the room with that and been able to deal with it rather easily. The last few times he's had Blade. Ooh, Raucous was so far up there. You see how close he was to the Mayhem's front line? That was a little bit disgusting. Dante's still getting a lot of damage done in the back, but securing the kills to Tracer, especially in these comps, is rather tough. You're wanting to pick people off on the sidelines. Yaki takes a swift headshot, but it doesn't matter. The tanks are alive for the Mayhem, and they end up capping the point first.
I almost get another kill there. Where's the retreat from Houston? I mean, it's just dangerous. Like, trying to play out around this pillar. And now they're pushing 3 left side? Or do they have 4 over here?
Might do, I can't just see. There's 3 at least. 4 at least, sorry. Immortality field goes down already. Dante again looking for the flank. They have the pulse bomb in their back pocket. Hydration needs to be able to set up for a big grip. It's going to be so hard now against the window. Oh my word! He dashed through the window, but Ganjin hit him with a headshot before he was able to get the pulse bomb off. Speaking of pulse bomb, that's a stick on the shield. Didn't quite get anything, but did stop Outlaws from really doing anything. They're going to have to once again go for this reset, and now the slow bleed out once more. It might not be that slow, to be fair, as that Flux did a whole bunch of damage. Even the bomb being sent out by Lynxa to try and find something. A little over-eager, I think, for the Outlaws. 50% now for the Mayhem. It's like we're watching Village all over again, Hex.
Yeah, Houston now with a proper reset there, they get stuck in the corner, but this is finally Florida being a little bit aggressive. They're not playing as passively, and I think maybe Control brings it out of them because they realize, like, oh, they're all stuck in this room. Why don't we just drop the window here? They can't come in. And then that's when you see Dante go down immediately with that Pulse Bomb because he gets headshot through the window by Gangnam Jin. Pulse Bomb is up again. Dante looking for this flank, trying to be the game maker.
He's off the point now. Although I say that, he goes back onto the point. There's going to be a rotation from the Outlaws, but they've already lost Lynxa, the main damage source. The Rock narrowly avoided Meko there, but they still managed to take out Gargoyle. Pulse Bomb was launched away. Immortality Field did bite the dust from the pulse damage, so they were able to get the damage follow-up from the Flux. They managed to recap, but it is one fight for the Florida Mayhem to win, and they will potentially secure the series. Outlaws, they need the biggest comeback here. The complete reverse sweep. 2 stages back-to-back after their 2 wins previous.
Yeah, it took Flux, Supercharger, and Rally for Houston to be able to win that fight. The nice thing is that Florida doesn't really have a whole lot online either, as they use their own abilities in almost that same order to try to stave off elimination there. This looks like a duel that Dante should win. He's got pack control, he forced recall, but the rest of Florida is there to back up and provide a safe harbor for Yaki.
Just going to narrowly avoid that window. They're getting burned out in the front line. That dynamite was absolutely massive. Rappel did receive an armor pack. There's the pull. There's the stick. Immortality Field goes down just in time. Luckily, Gannon Jin was there, and the ball for BQB is on the point. BQB's Bob once again tearing through the Outlaws. Linksa gets the best of BQB though, but will it matter? Look at the positioning now from Linksa. He's going to have a hard time actually getting damage into this fight. Plus he has to deal with Yaki. He does get the recall to stop that burn damage coming through, but Ganjin is on the kill feed once again, taking out Hydration. Outlaws going to be able to stall out for a little bit of time here, potentially wait on this Flux as Gargoyle is sent low. The bolt from Linksa is doing a lot of work, but the rally from Mayhem is going to make sure they're rather hardy in this engagement. And once again, Outlaws are forced out. Winder now through as well. The rock up into the high ground. Ganjin gets forced away by the Wrecking Ball, but it's not going to be enough for him to get killed off just yet.
This is final fight, like either side, really. I mean, Houston has been in control of this the entire time, and they now take the percentage
the pulse bomb! That's not what you want to see! Double pulse bomb kill onto the off tank and the main support. BQB does end up falling, but it's not going to matter, really. You're losing so much healing value. You've only got Brig to kind of back you up, and even Raucus goes down. Mayhem still control the point. Outlaws are able to find the recap and get 97%, but now Mayhem in the same situation. They just need one more engagement for them to win. Repel's jumping over to the emergency Ana to get a bio grenade to try and find the W. But Hydration on the Wrecking Ball ends up going down. The Pulse Bomb on the back does little to nothing as Yaki fends off Dante once again. Chris finds 2. This should be all over. The Outlaws struggling to find a kill. OT ticking down. It's up to Dante to continue contesting the payload. He ends up getting taken out. OT disappears as soon as Hydration gets taken care of. This is going to be it. Outlaws' hopes and dreams for the reverse sweep are diminished, and the Mayhem take the series 3-2.
That's got to be an especially painful one for the Outlaws. If you really go back and you think about it, Volskaya should have been theirs to have. Florida gifted them a couple of pretty easy opportunities by getting off of the payload a couple times and what were actual C9s from what we were able to observe. And then in just the end, they just get completely shut down on Nepal. Yeah, they got a lot of percentage there, but there was no time during that stage that it really felt like Houston was in it. They were scrappy and they got control, and then it just kind of remained to be a brawl for a long time, but you never felt like, oh, this is a clean fight for Houston. They're in control. They can play defense, whereas Florida was always in that spot. I mean, give Houston a lot of credit. They played a really good team, very close. But that's why it's kind of got to hurt extra, because Houston could have had this one in so many different times, and Florida tried to give it to them. Oh, that's got to hurt.
Couple of C9s, a couple of heartbreaking moments. That pulse bomb at the end sealed the deal. Yaki once again jumping over to the Tracer eventually, yeah. Oh boy, I mean, the Genji potentially stuck on it for a little bit too long, but where it counted, it really did count. That pulse bomb just... You take out the off tank, it's one thing, but taking out both him and the BAP, like, that is the game-winning play. And surprise, surprise, Hex, Xfinity player of the match will be Yaki. Improvement week after week for the Florida Mayhem. It looked like, well, it was a brand new team coming into the season, and they are a top contender for sure.
Yeah, Yaki has done everything that you want out of your damage player. Like I said, I disagreed with some of the compositions. The very first stage of our first control, they ran a Junkrat, and that didn't work out really well. There's nothing bad to say about his Genji. I think it's just the team learning to play around the Genji. For 2 weeks now, we've seen Yaki and nothing but Tracer. And so it's just learning to play around the style. And, you know, what we saw was that it's a very frontline Genji where you're sitting up there and you're tracking shields, you're hitting shurikens, you're getting dash value, and then you go off. The problem is it doesn't really check a god tier Tracer like Dante is, but then when you saw the switch to Tracer, turned it up, hit pulse bombs. I mean, Yaki is a star for this team, and I also think BQB super consistent, and I could always give MVP to Gargoyle, really. Like, I think Gargoyle has been one of the best players on this team going back to last season.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, his performance on Oasis specifically, or just throughout the beginning of the series at least, the interruptions he was getting using the rock when the enemy team was using Flux is just ridiculous. Plus his synergy, of course, with Fate in the front lines. It's a very tough meta if you don't have a strong off-tank and a strong Sigma like you mentioned before, and Gargoyle brings that and some more to the table. It's looking good for Florida going into the Summer Showdown, and it's looking good for the Outlaws as well. This was a 3-2, and this is, I think, what the Outlaws fans and the organization and all the players were hoping for, is this kind of slow ramp up into greatness, and it's exactly what they put on show today. They aren't a weak team, and I think a lot of people we're thinking maybe a 3-1, maybe a 3-0 for the Mayhem, but Outlaws really showing a lot of us up, I think, in that result today.
They look good, but the winner of this game was going to jump to 4, at least for the time being, in the Summer Showdown standings. That winner right now is the Mayhem. The top 4, as it sits right now, there's still 1 match to play. I believe everyone's going to play 3 before we actually do the brackets and the play-ins. But it's the Fusion, the Shock, and the Valiant all at 2-0. God, talk about the Valiant all day, but the Mayhem now sneak into that 4th spot at 2-1 over the Reign, because the Reign have only played 2 games, so they're sitting at 1-1. But the Outlaws would be sitting at that 4th spot right now had they won. That's what this map meant. It was so important for these teams, but the Mayhem have finished out their Summer Showdown. I believe that's 3 maps, so they're 2-1. Will it be good enough to hold on to that place? A lot of it's going to come down to map differentials, because no one is going to get more than 2 wins. The rest of the team's all sitting at 1-1. So it's going to be map differential, and that's why I finally get to say and be honest with you, every map matters. This is not a map 4 of 2 teams that are never going to make the playoffs. This actually does matter, every map, but right now Florida have moved into that 4th spot, and Houston, you gotta be kicking yourselves. Florida gave you every chance in the world to win this series, and they just couldn't close it out in the end.
Yeah, they are +1 at this current moment in time. Sounds like we've got an interview coming up in a brief moment, Hex. We've got Gargoyle on the line, so that'll be fairly interesting to see what he has to say about the series. Like you said, Hex, he's definitely one of the shining stars of the roster, and I was very happy to see him come into the Overwatch League, that's for sure. I've been casting a little bit of Korean contenders last year. Gargoyle was definitely on my radar to be a player to pick up. Same with Gangnam Jin. I think there's so many players that came into the league this year that I was surprised they weren't in almost like the year before, you know.
Well, I was hoping we'd see a little bit more of like the APAC meta, where you get a little bit more Roadhog, because I remember last year Gargoyle had one of the best Roadhog games I'd ever seen in my entire life, and you could kind of see the pieces starting to come together for Florida. Like, look, this isn't 2018 Florida. 2019 Florida was not great, but they started to click a little bit, and now 2020 Florida looks like a revitalized teams. It's got to be the jerseys, right? Look good, feel good, play good.
Yeah. Their jersey's looking pretty fire. The color scheme is just ridiculous, I think. I think it's some of my favorite color schemes, definitely. Miami Vice like looking.
Yeah. Vaporwave, Outrun. Like, I've got a jersey for the Florida Mayhem. I mean, they gave it to me, but thank you so much, guys. Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of pieces on this team that you can build around, and then when the meta starts suiting you, I think, a lot of it today was maybe overlooking Houston and thinking we could just play Genji no matter what, and let's work on it so we have it in our pocket. They performed really well in the last May Melee, so maybe getting a top seed isn't like the number 1 priority, but they could have easily 3-0'd this one. There were chances for Florida to make a better impression than they did today, but I don't think this is the Outlaws team that a lot of people expected. And I just think that the meta really suits the Outlaws in a lot of ways. But the meta, oddly enough, Brigitte being in the meta helps Florida immensely as well, because Chris has been playing more Brigitte than anybody. Somewhat to their detriment early in the season, somewhat to the confusion of our analysts at times. But they're practiced on that Brigitte, and Chris is a pretty good Brig, knows when to hold it and knows when to fold it with that rally.
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw the cookies at your DPS, right, to make sure they can perform out of their minds. I mean, that's what you end up doing. Throw it on the Tracer. She is basically immortal. Yaki as well. I mentioned it earlier on. We're just waiting just a little bit, guys, before we get into the interview, just to let you know. But Yaki has played the game and played competitively since Apex, and a little bit before that as well. He actually played on the same team as Kuki in Apex Season 4 on MVP. So it shows how, like, in a lot of the legacy of these players, and it was only a matter of time before Yaki did come into the Overwatch League. So having him show off what he can do is a treat to see for sure. So how do they do up against the top dogs, though? Someone like the Shock is going to be a big question on a lot of people's minds. Yeah, they're getting the bye, but I don't know, Mayhem, man. Shock looks sick.
Mayhem beat Fusion, last tournament. Do you think the coaching goes something like Kuki says cookie to Yaki? Say that 3 times fast.
I'd rather
I'd rather not either. It did not land the way I thought it would. But yeah, this Mayhem team is they've beaten good teams so far. Of course, we have a matchup tomorrow, which is Philadelphia versus the Shock. More matches today, but more importantly, we have an interview. Zoe is talking to Gargoyle.
Thank you so much, Hex. And Jaws, and welcome to the party, Gargoyle, as well as Swing Chip.
Hi.
Let's kick things off, of course, with congratulations to you and your team. It started to look really close there towards the end, where you were 2-0 up in the first half, but then coming into the second half of that match, it started getting a little hot. Can you maybe walk us through what the issue were in that second half for your team?
Sure. 자, 이제 범준 선수 이제 휴스턴이랑 저희가 경기가 꽤 막상막하였는데 이 정도로 경기가 치열할 거라고 예상하고 계셨나요? 저희가 이제 2대 0으로 스타트를 시작했는데 이제 후반에 메이햄이 조금 힘들어해하는 모습이 보였는데 그 이유가 뭐였는지 좀 알려주세요.
저희가 일단 하던 게 잘 안 돼서 스크림 때 원래 하던 걸 대회에서도 했어야 되는데 꼬여가지고 잘 안 돼서 좀 서로 안 맞다가 이렇게 된 것 같아요.
So he said what we were used to doing in scrims wasn't really working out once we started our matches, and we weren't kind of following through with the plans that we had originally, which is why we had a lot of trouble coming in the second half.
Right on. So, we're seeing a lot of changes, obviously, with now playing without hero pools, also playing on the new patch. How much did that actually affect what you guys were running? I mean, we saw you, for example, opting for that Sigma a lot over D.Va, which is a more traditional pairing to that Genji. Why are you playing that Sigma over D.Va?
자, 이제 이번 주 경기들부터 이제 많은 변경이 일어났잖아요. 연금풀이 사라지고 그리고 이제 패치 같은 것도 여러 개 이제 새로 들어왔는데 겐지가 조합에 많이 나오고 있는데 많은 선택들이 예상했던 디바가 아닌 시그마를 많이 꺼내고 있잖아요. 저희가 그래서 그 이유가 뭐라고 생각하시나요?
일단 벤이 풀리면서 브리기테가 나와가지고 윈디를 쓰기에는 너무 힘들어가지고 저희도 해봤는데 스크림 때 결국 이제 하다 보니까 전부 모든 팀들이 다 이걸로 결정된 것 같아요.
So he said with no hero pools, Brig also re-enters the playing field, which makes Winston D.Va a little too difficult to play to maximum potential. So it's not just us, most of the teams, if not all, are coming out with these kinds of comps.
And we're looking at the DPS lineup there. Yaki, I mean, the past few matches, we mainly saw him popping off on Tracer. Now you guys opted to go on Genji. Was that also just plainly due to the recent patch changes and the buff to Genji? Or are you just very confident as well playing that Genji in general?
그리고 이제 마지막으로 이제 메이햄에서 저희는 예전에 애쉬랑 트레 조합을 많이 썼었는데 이번 경기에 이제 트레보다 겐지를 더 많이 쓰는 모습을 보여주셨잖아요. 최근에 겐지가 버프를 받아서 그렇게 조합이 바뀐 건가요? 아니면 원래부터 이제 중기 선수의 겐지에 그렇게 자신감이 많았었나요? 저희 팀이?
버프를 좀 많이 먹어가지고 사용을 해봤는데 괜찮은 것 같아서 쓰고 대회 때도 계속 이어서 쓴 것 같아요.
Yep, so he's definitely been buffed a lot, so we tried him out and he's definitely pretty viable right now, so we used him a lot this game.
Well, good for you, since Yaki just seems to pop off on Tracer or Genji. Doesn't really matter to that guy. So congrats once more to you and the entire team. We can't wait to see more of you, of course, in our Summer Showdown. For now, we're heading into a very quick break, and then afterwards, we're back with the second game of the day, and that will be the Dallas Fuel taking on the Toronto Defiant. Stay tuned.